Shalom, shalom.
Okay, I hear me.
All right. Hey, why say we going live for 3 hours?
Huh? On my thing, it say live for 3 minutes. I can't hear you on mute.
In the top left corner of my screen, it say we be on live for 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 49 seconds.
That's crazy. Don't say that on mine. Maybe yours didn't log out or something.
Okay.
Started 4 minutes ago on YouTube, so I think we good. All right. But hey, shalom, everybody. Hit the like button when y'all come in the building. Baba Kasha, y'all go ahead, hit the like button. Is my mic loud? I said my mic loud. Huh? Well, can you turn it? Let me see if I can turn it down. No, I can't turn it down. It is what it is. Sorry. All right, y'all hit the like button as y'all come in the building. Baba Kasha. Got a nice little lesson for y'all today. Debunking some more Black Hebrew Israelite stuff. You know what I'm saying? Gonna be going into a good book for y'all that a lot of y'all probably heard of before. Maybe some of you haven't, but it's a very good book. So we're gonna go into it. Y'all hit the like button as y'all come in the building, and we'll be able to get started. Baba Kasha. And y'all sure I sound good? Aharon, what you sound like? We ain't heard you yet.
Hey, shalom. Can you hear me?
All right, come. Yeah. Let me make sure we can hear you. Let me make sure you sound good. Come. That's Soldier Aharon. For all y'all that don't know. Say shalom to the brother. All right, let me see. Make sure I got the rest of these notifications out. We should be good to go. Once again, hit the like button as y'all come in the building.
Yo, they must have been talking about my mic. Because my mic is terrible.
Nah, your mic sound good right now. All right, shalom. Shalom to everybody as y'all come in the building. Hit the like button. Shalom. Like, share the video. Come. All right. We just gonna go ahead and get started. I'm not trying to be on here all night. Main thing is, like I said, we're gonna be talking about the Northern Kingdom, mainly Gad, right? Proving that Gad is the Israelites, not with just rhetoric, but with a history book this time, right? Let me see. Where's this other thing I got? Give me just a second. There we go. I'll put these on deck too.
Con. Hey, make sure family.
Yeah, go ahead. Say something.
Con. Make sure family when y'all come in the building, hit the like button and share it to you guys' social media platforms. Help this word spread to the four corners of the earth. A lot of people are under the impression, or under the impression that the people that we consider, the people group that we consider the Northern Kingdom, being the Native Americans, right? North America and South America, right? A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people go against it. And what we need to do through the spirit is emphatically prove it with history, archaeology and Bible prophecy that they are in fact our brothers and sisters, man. And that's what we doing today. We're gonna have a couple of these lessons coming out. So you brothers and sisters, stay tuned. Have your pen, paper, right? Have your Bible. Have internet connection to access the web, so you can go to these books, these primary sources that we're gonna bring out through the Spirit, and have an attentive ear. Pay attention because this is a studious class. Want me to shout the people out in the building real fast?
Yeah, Khan, go ahead. Trying to see who the
Shalom, y'all
brothers
were
and
all at
sisters reading.
SOT. Shalom, John Allen. Shalom, Christina. Shalom, Joanna. Shalom, Josephina. Jonathan T. Sellet. Right? Jahazel. Shalom, Shaquat. Al Ra'ah. Nayam. Soldier Kavon. Soldier Zayah. Right? About Bela. Shalom, sister. Shalom, Chaziah. Hershey official. Shalom. Shalom, Jeremiah, Theophilus, Shalom, King. That brother came out to the feast, man. All praise to the Most High, right? Azaniah, Shalom, sister. Soldier Knock, Shalom, Monique, Yakim Yah, Judah, Maikiah, Dre, right? Soldier Shakur, Set Apart Nation. I think that's the brother Ari from HOI. The HOI on the scene, Shalom, King. All praises, right? And soldier Shemaiah, man. Shalom to all the brothers and sisters scattered abroad to the four corners of the earth. Oh, Elisa, Shalom. I apologize, sister. I didn't mean to miss you. But all praise to the Most High. Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. If we love y'all, I'm gonna bring y'all a great lesson through the Spirit.
Khan.
God.
Hey, I just found a book in PDF. It wouldn't let me load it before, but now it just gave it to me. But the pages is all out of order, so I gotta find the chapter that I'm looking for right quick so we can start. Give me just a second. Reference series reader. Chapter 2. Cool. Okay. Con. Salakia.
Con.
I really didn't think I was gonna have it for y'all to be able to read it, but Most High done did it for me.
All
Check
praises.
that out.
Hey, that's archive.org, right?
Shit. No, this is
You
yeah,
sure?
it is archive.org.
Yeah,
Ah, I didn't even know. I got hit through the another page. It just sent me to archive. It was called something library.
If you
All
brothers and
right.
sisters want to get into these older books that has this type of information, like primary sources of people that were actually there,
Oh, they boo boo.
or people that dealt with the people that were actually there. If y'all want to get into these, they got them these older books on archive.org. Y'all can get y'all hands on them digitally. Because if these pages, they could crumble, man. And I know that Adamar had went into this because it was another book that say that they pronounce the plural like the Hebrews, man. And through the
Yeah.
Spirit, I'm gonna ask Adam
So
about that.
con. Just to lay out the premise, right, of what we're gonna be talking about today. And just so y'all know, this is the same book. I ain't making none of it. Let me make sure we're on the right page. Serious. All right.
Salaki, real quick. Sometimes a lot of the older books you can get. People have taken PDF copies and put it into a physical book. Like for instance, this is the A Star in the West book, and someone has taken the copies of the book and just reprinted them. If you want a physical copy,
Oh wow. See, I got the real deal.
John. Oh
Mm.
yeah.
Shout out to Soldier Yawar. He hooked me up with this. He probably wanted it back, but I didn't get a chance to read it and he left. So still got your book. I come get it if you want it. But yeah, kind. So this was a pretty good read. Basically, what it is, in fact, here, I'll read you the preface so I ain't got to go back on that page that we got up there for you guys. Pull that back up. Ooh. All right. So basically, just so y'all know what this is, right? This is a star in the west. It's a humble attempt to discover the long lost 10 tribes of Israel, preparatory to their return to the beloved city, Jerusalem, right? This is by Elias Bunduit, or uh, yeah, Baldino, however you say his name. All right. It says a star in the west was an invention by Elias Bandinot or Baldinot into the widely held belief that the Native Americans were descended from the lost tribes of Israel. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a hypothesis that the Native American tribes were part of the lineage tracing back to the Israelite tribes during the time of the biblical testament was popular. So he's saying all the way in the, 1800s. That's what 18th, 19th centuries is, right? So these are the time periods that we're talking about. Literally during slavery, they're going around talking to tribes. These Edomites doing what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? Writing things on paper, documenting things that they find. So the information that we're reading isn't biased, has nothing to do with us. It's just information that these Edomites went through. They compiled information from other Edomites in other time periods. So, like this book, for instance, was written in the 18th and 19th centuries, right? But there's quotes in this book from the 1600s and the 1500s from other Edomites. So it's literally hundreds of years of compiled information proving that the so-called Native Americans are the Israelites, right? And uh, there's a man named James Adair. He has a book that's referenced a lot in his book as well, right? I believe it's called The Jews of the West or something like that.
About the history of the Native American Indians.
Oh, he's got the history of the Native American Indians. Okay, so there's another book that's referenced in here called The Jews of the West. The author of that I forget, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So, but those two men, basically, those two books is where a lot of the information in this book comes from. And like I said, there's other people aside from those two gentlemen that wrote those books that have also got a lot of quotes in this book as well. So there's history from well, let's just see. They have stuff like the state of the Jews, uh, the inquiry of the language of the American Indians, proving that that's Hebrew, Native American traditions, proving that they go back to the Israelites and the things that they tell their children, the old stories, folk tales, whatever Edomites like to call them these days, right, are the same so-called folk tales and traditions and old stories of the Bible in Genesis, right? Uh, let me see. Their known religious rites and ceremonies, um, different feasts that they keep, all these type of things, right? Their separation of the Indian woman during her time and all of that, right? So all of these things are customs and stuff that these Edomites documented over hundreds of years. So it's not something that people can say, it's a certain camp out there that believes that these people aren't, you know, Israelites, or a lot of people from the so-called Northern Kingdom, people we would consider Northern Kingdom, Hispanics and Native Americans, they're not accepting them to be Israelites because of their skin color. Something else that we're going to get in today, a little bonus, is debunking the so-called pure seed doctrine, right? But we're going to do that at the end. So with that being said, now that you understand the premise, I believe that's where I want to start at. Let me see if we can, it don't get no bigger than that. I mean, can y'all read that? Nope, that's not gonna work. Actually, that might work. Can y'all read this, or is this too close? It's good?
Come on, it can be read.
All right, come. So I will let one of y'all read this. Y'all can start from a serious consideration.
All right. From a serious consideration of all the foregoing circumstances, we seem naturally led to have recourse to the late discovered continent of America, which the first visitants found filled with inhabitants, and though called savages, differed essentially from the savages ever known to be the people of the old world before.
Right? So he's saying, though these people are savages, they're not actually the type of savages that you would think, especially not the savages from the world before, right? They're not these primal-minded people like they led you to believe they were. Go ahead.
In the first place, they resemble considerably in appearance the people of the Oriental nations.
Right. So the reason I wanted to read this first is because just in a minute later on after that, he's going to talk about how they also resemble the Jews, right? And as we go into him explaining that, the Jews he's talking about are black people, as you're going to see. Uh, if we know anything about time period and history lessons I've taught you guys up to this point, we know that there were so-called Jews and Israelites in England and everything like that during that time period. One of which, very notable one, named Luis de Torres, who actually converted to Christianity so he wouldn't be killed and was forced to be the one to come over here and find these people and speak to them, right? On the ship that Columbus was on. So there were, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, just like Luis de Torres, another man called uh, Elroy the Danite, right? He's another brother. He was known as a so-called blackamoor from Portugal and Spain that also was a so-called Jew from that time period in that area. So it's known what the Jews look like. Their description is known, at least the way that they're described from this time period, right? And the way that they're described isn't the same way that they would be described back then. Or what? I mean, it's not how they'd be described now. So now when you look up a Jew and people are looking at Jews in England and stuff like that, you would think white person. If they say, you would look like if someone today was to say something along the lines of, when I saw the Native Americans, it was like I was looking at a lot of Jews in London, right? You would think that that is talking about black people. But in the case of this, we're going to find out that they're actually talking about, you would think that they're talking about white people. In the case of this, we're going to find out they're actually talking about black folks. So, but here it says they look like Orientals. Reason would be, as you're going to see, as we're going through this lesson, it's going to explain that there were two different, or if not three different splits between the natives in the mainland, right? So there was the ones that were in the southeast, and then there were the ones in the mid, sort of like the Plains Indians, right? And the Plains Indians are the ones that basically spread and took over the rest of the state or the rest of the mainland, right? Whereas the ones in the southeast mainly migrated further northeast, but stayed to the east. They didn't migrate to the west at all or even to Midland. Okay, not many of them. And then we know the Seminoles stayed primarily in Florida, and they also bounced back around to the different islands, as what you call the Taino Arawak Indians. So a lot of those are actually Reubenites. So, but from there,
And Salakia,
yo,
whenever you're ready for it, I got the PDF, the copy of Adair, James Adair, when he talks about the differences in the looks of the Native Americans, how some from some region were darker in hue, taller in stature, as opposed to some of the other, but they were all full natives. So it wasn't just one particular look.
mm-hmm. Hold on. I don't know what Yahoo Ben Israel is saying. I can't really make it out. But
He's spazzing about how no the Native Americans were making totem poles, and that's similar to Canaanite groves. So he may be arguing that
he's trying
they're
to say that they're
Canaanites.
Canaanites. Ah, okay.
Maybe.
So
No,
look,
they're
man.
closer
So
to the Assyrians.
it's no secret, right, that Native Americans, Hispanics, all type of tribes were into a lot of idolatrous, paganist, heathenist things, right? Same thing was happening in Africa with the Ifa and the Voodoo or Voodoo and Islam, all these other things that brothers was doing in Africa, right? So, needless to say, both tribes, Northern and Southern Kingdom, were doing a lot of things that are not our culture, but actually following the culture of other people, right? That doesn't mean that they are those people. It has nothing to do with that, right? What we're gonna see is their actual culture before any other BS happened, because it was documented, and we see how it is that they were acting, how they were moving as a people, the type of ceremonies they had, the way that they worshiped, the way that they called their God, how they called their God, what they called their God, right? These are the things that we're going to see today. So they're literally going to prove the Hebrewisms of the Native American people, if that's what you want to call it, right? Whereas you wouldn't have so-called quote unquote Hebrewisms if you're not of the Hebrew Israelites, right? They're the only Hebrews that show any Hebrewisms. So With that, keep reading.
Mr. Penn, who saw and communicated with them on a particular manner, on his first arrival in America, while in their original uncontaminated state, before they were debased and ruined by the connection with those who called themselves civilized and Christians, was exceedingly struck with their appearance.
You see? So he's exceedingly struck with their appearance, right? It's not just because they look one way. It's also because this Mr. Penn is also going to describe them as looking different. He saw them before they were debased, as he just said, right? So he got to see their full state. He got to travel and see a bunch of different looking Indians. He saw ones that look black. He saw ones that look Oriental, as he just said. He's going to see some that look regular, like I guess you would call Assyrian mixed, right? The Scorpion King look, the long hair, the kind of brown skin bodies and all that type of stuff, right? So like all of that, that's the brothers that was mixed with the Assyrians. It's no secret that happened, right? You want to know why the people in the southeast stayed looking black? There was a tribe of Southern Kingdom Israelites that are now known as the Geechee and the Gullah people that stayed in South America. Southeast United States, right? They moved from Africa, stayed there, and mixed with the Indians that were in those regions, right? So like they even had their own type of talks, their own tribal languages, all that type of stuff, just like Indians did. So that all traces back to the Hebrew, same way. But those people being of African descent, so-called, right? They have Indian mixes that look like people of African descent, so-called. They would probably look like all of the brothers on stage right here, right? Whereas my dad, his people are from the Middle America, so he looks more like y'all were all's people, right? So, and then if you go to camps like ISUPK, right? There's brothers that got the Oriental look a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So that Juan Manuel Marquez type look, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that they're Oriental. It just means that they might have been the people that mixed with the Oriental tribes. We kicked the Orientals away. They're gone. They're known as the Eskimos now, right? Some of them had little tribes. There's an Oriental Choctaw tribe. There's an Oriental Chippewa tribe. But we know which ones is which. You can tell the difference of them when you just look at the pictures and see where they was, migrated, where their migration patterns are, where they settled at and stuff, right? So that's that. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Go ahead, keep reading.
In one of his letters to his friends in England, he says, I found them with like countenance with. Next page.
Yeah. I'm trying. All right. Let me scroll up. All right.
In like countenance with the Jewish race.
Mm-hmm.
And their children of so lively a resemblance to them that a man would think of himself in a duke's palace or Berry Street in London when he seeth them.
So now he's trying to say that he sees a different type of Indians, right? And like I said, with this, you would think that he's speaking of straight white people. You're going to see later on that he's not. Go ahead. So this means that even in this time period, 1682, they knew back in London that, a duke's place wouldn't just be white Jews, it would be black Jews there as well, right? You have to think about the Reformation of the Jews, the Renaissance period, the expulsion of the Jews, all these different things, right? There's not just Israelites that are black that are, expelled. Still, some of them are here, but they're having to, basically accept these white people that have converted and literally taken their identity until they're either completely fleshed out or put into slavery, right? Everybody wasn't fleshed out in 1682. One of King James' sons was still in grandsons. Prince James II, I believe, was still in England at this time around 1682. He didn't die till the 1700s, early 1700s, right? So we see if he's on the scene still, I'm sure he's not the only so-called Jew that's in London and all that stuff at the time, right? So we know that here he's talking about black people. So you see some that look like Orientals, some that look like the Southern Kingdom. Go ahead.
They wore earrings and nose jewels, bracelets on their arms and legs, rings on their fingers, necklaces made of highly polished shells found in their rivers and on their coasts. Their females tied up their hair behind, worked bands around their heads, and ornamented them with shells and feathers, and are found with strings of beads around several parts of their bodies. They use shells and turkey spurs around the tops of their moccasins to tinkle like little bells as they walk.
You see, and that's something that is going to be a custom. He's going to talk about. That's something our women used to do in Israel, right? Why is it that these Native American women are doing that? They're dressing like that, right? The women and the men both putting on their jewelry and everything, right? They're beautiful garments, as Isaiah 52 says, right? These are the things that they was doing back then before they were debased and put in their, low state. Go ahead.
Isaiah proves this to have been the custom of the Jewish women, or something much like it. In that day, says the prophet, the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their calls, and the round tires like the moon, the chains and the bracelets of their mufflers.
You see? So he even likened the scripture. Isaiah 3:18, right? He's going to finish it. Go ahead.
The bonnets and the ornaments of the legs, and the headbands, and the tablets, and the earrings, and the ring and the nose jewels. Isaiah 3:18.
You see? So he literally explained to you the same things that these natives are wearing, right? Goes exactly back to what the Most High said he would take away from the people, right? Which is why they don't wear that stuff anymore. This is coming right from the book, right? So it's like when you see this stuff is documented, you can't just take it upon yourself, somebody that's new age, to have your own, that has your own opinion. You can't just take it and, toss all this stuff to the side like brothers is trying to do. This is actual, factual, documented information. You have to go by this, right? It's here for a reason. Just like the Bible was preserved and everything, we have this stuff to know who our brothers are, right? This is how brothers like me, Aharon, Chris, Malachi, right? And all the other brothers and sisters that believe themselves to be of the tribe of Gad, this is how we can say we're who we are, right? We see things like this. And we know we got people in our family that dress like that. I could pull up pictures of my folks dressed just like this. Just in the 90s, in early 2000s, right? So, go ahead.
They religiously observe certain feasts, and feasts very similar to those enjoined on the Hebrews by Moses, as will hereafter and more particularly be shown.
Right.
In short, many, and indeed it may be said, most of the learned men who did pay any particular attention to those natives in the wilderness at their first coming among them, both English and Spaniards, were struck with their general likeness to the Jews.
See? So, and you know that the English and Spaniards, once again, if you look up things like Luis de Torres, brothers like Luis de Torres, if you look up the documents of Christopher Columbus, they knew what the Jews looked like, both Spaniards and English folk, right? So he's telling you that there were people who looked like the Jews. So far we have some that look Oriental and we have some that look like the Jews, right? He's going to get to the ones in the middle, America, in a minute. But as you see, off rip, right? He's already shown you two different types of natives. Some that look like me, some that look like brothers in other camps, right? So how can you say that those people, when you see them off the top, are just, oh, well, he's not an Israelite, right? He don't look black. He don't have Negroid features, as they call them, right? These are the problems here. You can't just call a man unclean because he doesn't have Negroid features. Not all of them had Negroid features. We're going to prove it, right? The ones with Negroid features stayed to a specific part of the United States. Everyone else looked a certain type of way. The way that you see the majority of the natives look in pictures is because those are the ones that mainly moved around and stuff like that. The ones that look like that. They were the ones that got to, move around through the United States. They were the ones that ended up coming into contact with the cavalry more often than not, right? The ones that look like Judah, Southern Kingdom, they were the first ones to be put on the plantations. They were the first ones to lose their identity as Gadites, right? Which is why you see the long-haired, brown-skinned ones more prevalent when you look up an Indian, because they were the ones that it would have been harder to put on the plantation and call a Negro, right? So it's things like that you got to think about. Their brothers don't take into consideration, but this is all stuff that Esau knew. So he made it easy, you know what I'm saying, for himself to hide us. But go ahead, do your thing.
The Indians in New Jersey, about 1681, are described as persons straight in their limbs beyond the usual proportion in most nations.
So these are tall people, right? And these are tall black brothers. These are the ones that resemble the Jews, right? Where is New Jersey at? It's on the East Coast, right? When you look up New Jersey Indians right now, they look like Brother Aharon. Some of them look like Brother Darak. They got little braids like I got, right? Same type of hair and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Same complexion. If you seen him on the street, you would think it was a brother, but he's not. He's a Gadite. This is the East Coast, right? That's what they look like. So-called brothers and sisters, right? The Cherokee Indians, most likely they look like brothers and sisters. That's why you see so many so-called black people. I got Cherokee. You probably are a Cherokee. Now, I got Cherokee. That might be what you are, right? Because Cherokees were on the East Coast. Go ahead. Or am I at the bottom? Do I need to move up?
No, you good.
Not yet.
All right. Very seldom crooked or deformed. Their features regular. Their countenances sometimes fierce. In common, rather resembling a Jew than a Christian.
You see? So they have fierce countenance. He's letting you know, Jew and Christian. He's putting the difference between it, right? Because in this time period, it was known a Jew was a black person, a Christian was a cracker, right? So the black man, what? He always looks scary. That's what they say, right? Jews are scary. Oh, man, they're fearful, right? They always look mad, always angry. That's what they say about us. Same thing they say about the black man, right? So here he's telling you the Jew got the fierce countenance. The Native American back then on the East Coast had that fierce countenance just like the Jew. More fierce as a Jew rather than a Christian. Because the Christian got that Joel Osteen soft white boy look, right? That's what the white man is telling you. That's the description he's giving you in this book right here from the 1600s. Go ahead.
It shall now be our business to collect these facts in their history.
Yeah, it shall now be our business to collect these facts and their history, right? We can't let this go because there's some brothers that don't want to believe these are your people because they're not your complexion, right? What about the ones that are your complexion, that are related to those people, that say that those are their people, right? What then? What do we say then? Go ahead.
I'll start at the top.
And y'all hit the like button as y'all come in the building. Baba Kashad.
It shall now be our business to collect those facts in their history that are well attested, with those which may be known of them from personal knowledge of men or character, or from their present manners, customs, and habits.
Mm-hmm.
Although we were well advised, and it should be constantly borne in mind that the corruption of both principle and practice introduced amongst them by their connection with Europeans has so debased their morals and vitiated all their powers of their mind that they are quite degenerated from their ancestors.
So they're telling you now, right? The people that you see now that you would call Indians, if they've been on the reservation, he's talking about in this time period. There's a lot of them that they don't teach the old history to. He's going to get to telling you that. A lot of the Indians that know the actual history, where they come from and all of that stuff, they don't spread that history prevalently because the young people, just like our young people, right? So-called black Hispanic men that you see on the streets that we get to see every day, right? They don't want to hear this stuff. The white man's going to tell you that the Indians have told him that their young people don't want to hear this stuff, so they only give the information and pass it to the ones that they know will be trusted with it, right? So that's why you don't hear Indians all the time saying, oh yeah, we're the people of Israel, because they might not have been trustworthy enough to get that information. He's telling you they started making that rule back then. This is the 1800s. So if they was strategically choosing who they were going to pass down the information to in the 1800s, who do you think has the information now? Damn near nobody, right? So these are, once again, the things you have to think about. Why is it so hard to wake up the Native Americans on the planet, on the reservation if they're really Israelites? The white man just told you. They're completely degenerated from their ancestors. They don't know nothing about the past. They don't even speak the language no more. They don't. They only speak English now. Go on in the reservation. They don't speak no Hebrew. They don't speak no Algonquin. They don't speak no Inca. They don't speak no nothing.
No Nahua.
No Uto, Aztecian, none of that. And we're going to see all of that is Hebrew. Just the different types, right? All them different camps, the ones that say Yahweh, right? It comes from a sect of how the Israelites, the Gadites spoke here in America. That's how they were able to trace it, because white men traced that back as Paleo-Hebrew, right? There was a sect of the Gadites that said Yahweh, right? With an O. They documented that. That's why there's some people out there that think that's the name of the Most High, because that was it. There was a sect of Gadites that said the name like that, and it was documented. So now they could find that information, right? There was a Yahowaha, right? Or Yahweh, right? Which is where they basically get the Yahweh from. we're going to find all that information. The white man's going to tell it to you, right? So these are the things that you got to think about. If these people got all of this stuff, how could they not be Israelites? They're the only ones speaking the language on this side of the earth and everything. They got the same story of how they got here that's mentioned in 2nd Esdras chapter 13. The same story that Montezuma told, who's the leader of the Aztecs, right? So they're totally different people. How do both of these nations got the same story that's in the same book that Christopher Columbus used to get here, if they're not the people of the book? All these things we're going to see. Go ahead, keep going.
Khan. Salaki, I want to bring a quick precept
Yeah,
for that.
go right ahead.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 7. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. So you see, that's why the Most High already told us that, listen, you need to look back, consider the years of many generations, find out where you came from. You know, get the true history from your family, because you know he already know that the Edomites and all the other nations would oppress a man in their heritage. You know, we know that they're confederate against us.
Right.
So I'll start at an old. Yeah. Okay, so an old Charibi Indian in a very early day thus addressed one of the white people. Our people are become almost
Well, that's good. That's all I want on that, actually.
gone.
Let me see what other page I got. I'm gonna see now. This part's the part that's gonna be hard because I gotta flip through to this thing. It don't let you skip pages. 52. All right, I ain't gotta go too far. Give me a second. Y'all, if y'all got something to say, go ahead while I do this.
Salaki, you on mute.
Can I bring some on the screen real fast? Or you
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Con, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, Con. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Con. So I'm about to print.
While I look, see what page. Okay.
So what I'm about to bring into the page, what I'm about to bring up real fast is another source, right? Of people. All right, Con. We put it up. It's ready. It's
Salaki,
ready.
after you get this one, I got
Okay.
the James Adair.
All right.
Yeah,
And then I
Con.
found where I'm at. I found it. So we good. We're gonna
Oh,
be able to
praises.
move right along after that. All right. This is what you wanted. All right.
Yeah. So this right here is information based off James Adair. This is a book called Salaki. Bear with me. It's discourse on the evidence of the Native American Indians being the descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Right. It's a book published in 1837. So these brothers right here, these people right here, are closer to the information and closer to those times that we are. Right. So they understand and have this information right there by them. Right. So they can have these discourses on this evidence that we're bringing to y'all today. Right. So I don't know. Can y'all see that? Let me pull it up.
Con.
So let's read this real fast. Forgive me. You can see it.
Yeah, Con.
Okay. So like what we about to bring out is this piece right here. Right. And we're gonna start at 8. It is right. So it is, however, in religious beliefs and ceremonies, Indians that I propose showing some of the evidence of their being as believed the descendants of the dispersed tribes, right? This opinion is found in their belief in one God and wait, and the computation of times by their ceremonies of the new moon. So these brothers was keeping the new moon, right? And a division of years and 4 seasons, answering to Jewish festivals, a feast of flowers, right? This is probably the feast of first fruits, the day of
Mm-hmm.
atonement, the feast of tabernacles, and other religious holidays, man. Right?
Yeah. Feast of Flowers is the Feast of First Fruits.
right? And
Or
even in
some of them
pagan
called it the Feast of First Fruits or the Feast of
con,
First Crops. Go ahead.
con, it was on page 12. It refers to it as a because he references Adder. Is that the man's name?
Adair,
James
yeah.
Adair.
Adair,
Yeah.
James Adair. So he references James Adair's book and actually goes into further like how they spoke Hebrew and pronounce certain things certain ways, man, through the spirit. Right? It says in erection of temple after the manner of the temple and having a ark of the covenant, and also the erection of altars. But the division of the nations into tribes with a chief or grand catcher with their heads, man, by their laws of sacrifice, right? Oblations, marriage, ceremonies, and war and peace. The prohibit, what they say?
Prohibitation.
Prohibition, what
Oh,
Prohibitions.
prohibitions. Yeah, I
prohibition
can
of
see.
eating certain things. So this is right here. We got Leviticus. They sacrifice having the law of sacrifice, different oblations, right? That'll be your sweet savor offerings, right? The marriages, how they had marriages, ceremonies of war and peace. You can't eat certain foods, fully carrying out Mosaic institutions, right? It's gonna show you how. It says by their, y'all can see this, traditions, history, character, appearance, infinity of language to Hebrew, and finally, by the everlasting covenant of heirship exhibited in a perpetual transmission of a seal in their flesh. Does anybody know what that's referring to?
The arm in the flesh, the brotherhood pact.
Let's talk about circumcision.
Oh,
Uh,
well, we're gonna talk about circumcision, right?
Uh,
Because
con, con,
that's something that this book actually admits that they did do, but they stopped it because once again, the younger generation didn't think it was, well, they didn't know why the hell they was doing it, right? So
right.
again, remember how he mentioned earlier, he actually mentioned twice in this book that they've been degenerated from their ancestors, right? They've basically been so separated from the past that they don't even know why they're doing certain things. They don't know why they have certain traditions that they keep still that lead them back to the Israelites, right? So certain of those traditions, when they had little councils around the time period of this book, they would have the councils to find out why they're doing certain things, and then they would stop doing it. So some of them aren't circumcised right now, certain tribes, because they haven't thought it to be a reason to do it, right? Some of them do circumcise now because they converted to Christianity. So due to them being Christian, they get circumcised anyway. But yeah,
Con.
so
I have one last point. That information right there is undeniable. How they kept certain feast days, right?
mm,
He
their
told you that
appearance,
they
all of
speak
that.
in Hebrew, and then we have this right here, right? It says the Indians have their prophets and high priests the same as the Jews had. Not
Okay,
it's
well, wait, hold on,
okay.
hold on. You gotta hold that. You gotta
I'm
hold
gonna
that,
hold
all
it.
right?
I'm gonna
Because
hold
you're
it.
getting ahead of yourself, all
It's a lot. Please forgive me.
Look, we're gonna talk about the language right now. After that, we're gonna get the traditions where we're gonna get to talk about the high priest and everything. Because I got a section for the high priest in this book too. So we're gonna read that at the
Praise
same
it.
time.
Let's get
And
it.
then we're gonna get their connection story to the second Esdras, right? Since it's still brothers that don't believe that Arzareth is in America. We're gonna prove it with one book. Right? Two books. If you count the connection to the story of Montezuma and Cortez and Lost Tribes and Promised Lands that we read in our last video that we did, the Northern Kingdom slavery, right? And we're gonna bring that out for y'all today, just so it can't be said that it wasn't said.
Come
Okay,
on.
but I'm gonna put this down for a second.
Hey, Salaki, these some deep waters, man. These some deep waters for you Negro onlys to hop in, right? You people that have this doctrines that these brothers right here are not Israelites. All of this evidence that we piling on your cranium, you gotta refute them with scholarly evidence. Not only scholarly evidence, but biblical prophecy, because that's what we bring out as well. Right. So you gotta fight against a lot to prove and substantiate your doctrine, man. And I yield.
so like it's impossible. It can't be done. I mean, because you can see curse for curse how it applies. You know.
That's real.
Huh? But yeah, I mean that's the thing though, right? Brothers don't go by the curses no more. Brothers go by skin color now, right?
Con.
Because once again, that doctrine that we're gonna break at the end of this, that so-called pure seed joint, right? They think that if you light skinned, that means you mixed with something else. So, and if you mixed with something else, you've tainted the seed of Israel. The seed of Israel is not pure, so you're not allowed in the kingdom. That don't make no damn sense. That's not in the Bible.
I
You
wonder
making
how they
stuff
get
up.
around Ephraim and Manasseh, but that's a whole nother thing.
Ephraim, Manasseh, uh,
David's children,
uh,
Moses'
yeah,
children.
Levi's two sons,
Con.
Moses, right? Absalom, Rehoboam. It's a lot of brothers you got to get around. If that's the Yahushua, because Ruth is a heathen. Yeah, right? But
Yeah.
anyway,
Con.
read that. The Indian languages in general, since we was just talking about Indian language, right? Let's read what the Indian language is all about. Go ahead, Ak.
The Indian languages in general are very copious and expressive. Considering the narrow sphere in which they move, their ideas being few in comparison with civilized nations. They have neither cases nor declinations. Go ahead. They have few or
Oh, my bad. Damn. I'm looking for something. Go ahead.
they have few or no prepositions. They remedy this by affixes and suffixes, and their words are invariably the same in both numbers. All this, if the writer's information be correct, is very similar to the Hebrew language.
Mm-hmm.
He has been informed from good authority that the same is confirmed by a writer well acquainted with the subject, that there is no language known in Europe except Hebrew without prepositions, that is, in separate and express words.
You see that? So look, he says straight up, there's no other language on the planet that they know about, right? The only other people on earth that would have been speaking Hebrew would be the Jewish people, right? The Jewish people are in Europe, and he's telling you that in Europe, there's no other language that is spoken like this other than Hebrew. And the only people that speak it in the way that it's supposed to be spoken of, because we know that contemporary Hebrew, right? It's not the type of Hebrew that we would have been speaking back in the day. It's got a whole lot of vowels in it that we didn't have and all of that, right? In fact, everything he said here that makes Hebrew what it is, that's not what contemporary Hebrew is, which is why we don't use it. Contemporary Hebrew has the same type of, or if not similar, very, very, very similar word usage, the type of vowels, the way that you connect the words, everything. It's similar to English, Latin, Greek. You know what I'm saying? The things that we don't like to prescribe and subscribe as Hebrew, the things that basically help take away our heritage and our culture of us speaking Hebrew as a people, right? So we don't use contemporary Hebrew for that reason. He's talking about Paleo Hebrew when he talks about the Hebrew language here. That's the only Hebrew they knew back then, right? To liken things to. This contemporary Hebrew wasn't all that big because the people that speak the contemporary Hebrew weren't the main group of Jews at the time, so to speak, right? They're being called Christians as we're being called the Jews by the man who wrote this book. So, but continue that. Go ahead.
Huh. The Indians have all the other parts of speech except as above. They have no comparative or superlative degrees of comparison more than the Hebrews. They form the last by some leading vowel of the divine name of the Great Spirit added to the word.
See? So they consider the Most High the Great Spirit, right? We call him the Most High. They call him the Great Spirit. There's no difference in that, right? It's the same thing. Go ahead.
I need you to scroll down.
Oh.
All right. It is observed by some Jewish as well as Christian interpreters that the several names of God are often given as epithets by the Hebrews to those things which are the greatest, the strongest, and the best of their kind, as Rawak Elohim, a
The
mighty
mighty wind.
wind. Khan.
Yeah, that's
Volume
it.
1.
That's all I need right there, actually.
Okay.
That's all I need right there, right? So you see, that's the first part of the language. This is page 52 in my book and page 51 and 52 in this online copy. Let me see if I can find the next page. Go ahead if y'all got something while I flip through these. or y'all
You
can
said,
wait.
you
It's
said
up to
page
y'all.
52.
All right. Yeah, that's what I was just on 52.
All right. Well, you'll be able to see as we go through it more how similar everything was. I mean, from the fringes to the language to the people to, I mean, even I know it's not Newark, New Jersey, but you know how it was describing the Gadites that are in New Jersey, how they were very similar to the Jews. I mean, you can see in Newark, Ohio, they got the Newark stones, in which has Hebrew all written all around it, and a figure of uh real Israelite looking person on there.
Mm-hmm. It's a lucky. It's brother right here, Omoro Raglan, right? Says the Native American Defense League say they are not Israelites. But you know who else says they're not Israelites? When you ask Jake what's his nationality when he was walking down the
Con.
street, he said,
Okay, so look, hold on. The Native American Defense League says they're not Israelites, right? But then you have to, like the brother just said, who's in charge of the Native American Defense League? Is it Native Americans or is it Edomites?
Right.
That's the first thing. You see, brothers say things and don't know what they talk about. When you look at the chiefs, the so-called chiefs or regulators of the Native American Defense League, they're not Native Americans. They're Edomite. It's the Edomite Defense League for the Native Americans. That's what it is, right?
So like,
So that's
and
step one.
didn't what's the lady? Was it Sarah Palin or one of them Edomite senators or politicians that talked about she was a Gadite? You know what I'm talking about?
It's the one they call Pocahontas. I don't remember her name.
Con.
But yeah, it's the old white lady. But so yeah, they're Edomites, right? The leader of the Cherokee Nation, who's one of the Native American Defense League people, he's a Edomite. He looks just like Rand Paul, got red nose and everything, right? Uh, so like that's that. So you can't take it as the Native American Defense League says that they're Israelite. You can go on YouTube right now, type in Comanche Nation says they're Israelites. Those people know that they're Israelites. That's my nation. You can type in Cherokee knows they're Israelites. There's people telling you they're Israelites, right? There's these books right here that we're reading you, where these people, when they knew they were Israelites, are telling you that they're Israelites. Once again, um, uh, the Native American Defense League, a lot of these people and any of these other leagues that have anything to do with Native Americans nowadays, they're trying their best to separate the natives from their homeland. There's even a video you can watch where they've got natives giving tribute to Jewish people, right? Because they've led them to believe that they're not the people, or not even they've led them to believe that cultures are alike, but haven't struck the idea that maybe you guys are the Israelite people, right? So in this video, these natives are just coming to the realization that they have a culture that they see is very similar to the Jewish people, but the Jewish man is making them have a relationship with them, so to speak, that particular tribe, right? As opposed to just letting them know you guys are these people. That's why y'all have a culture so similar to us and you never came into contact with us before, right? So if brothers had brains, that's the things they would think about, right? So, yeah, uh,
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna say there.
and to expound on that, the entities that represent the actual children of Israel from no, not either northern or southern or any tribe will say that, oh yeah, by and large we're Israelites. It's always smaller subgroups of people like us who are waking up to this, or who's had the traditions passed down. You know what I mean?
Facts.
The true history. But
Because
the
look, right, there's a
representatives,
whole bunch of African Americans that say that they're not Israelites,
come on,
right? How's that any different than the Gadites that say they're not Israelites? Is it
no,
because they're not Israelites, or is it because they just don't know they're Israelites, right? There's Hispanics that say they're not Israelites. Brother Durock just did a great lesson last week showing that they are Israelites. So does that mean they're not Israelites, or do they just not know, right? The white man that wrote this book that we read, if you've been paying attention, has said twice now, right? We ain't talking about DNA. They've said twice now that these people are the Israelites, right? Have you ever thought that the DNA makeups that they make up usually uh the haplogroups that they put you in, they're based off the area that you're from, right? So if there weren't any people with your haplogroup in this area, how would they have the same haplogroup as you, brother? right? You brothers that use DNA and everything, I don't know what the hell y'all are talking about. Haplogroup isn't based off your ethnicity. It's based off where you're from, the area you live in, right? If I just told you wasn't no niggas here, except for the southeast part, and all of them people that was there as natives were put into slavery and then given the connotation and the identity as Negro, right? They the haplogroup that they gonna give the Negro is gonna also match those Native Americans. You realize that, right? So that they continue to call those Native Americans Negro. Same thing. They're not going to give you haplogroups with real information. They're going to give you haplogroups with the information that they want to perpetuate and put out there, right? The facts come from stuff like this. The books that aren't from 2021, 2022, the books that are from the 1800s, where they're literally documenting these people while they have connections to their history before they get in contact with the white man, right? And them telling you themselves that they're the Israelites. The white man said in this book twice that they are now debased from their ancestors, meaning they wouldn't be able to tell you they was the Jews if it hit them in the face because they don't know that. They went through what the Bible says they would go through, Jeremiah 17:4. They discontinued from the heritage that the Most High gave them, right? So if you discontinue from the heritage that was given, does that mean you remember what you are, or do you got to wake back up to it, right?
And Salakia, even if you look at the
Last
encomiendas,
point, then we're going to get back into the book.
if you look at how the encomiendas was set up, it was basically for people who, didn't want to convert and be washed over. You know what I mean? And the same way they had to whitewash our history and our, true identity. Same thing happened to them.
Come on.
Con, you want me to start at a
Brothers that's
writer?
trying to learn, y'all got to listen to what we saying. You know what I'm saying? What's Jeremiah 2:6 say? I'm gonna read that, but go ahead, brother. Start at
A writer?
the writer Adair. Yeah.
A writer, Adair, who has had the best opportunities to know the true idiom of their language by a residence among them for 40 years, has taken great pains to show the similarity of the Hebrew with the Indian languages, both in their roots and general construction. It insists that many of the Indian words to this day are purely Hebrew.
No. Many of the Indian words to this day are just purely words.
Are
It's just
purely
English. Boo
Hebrew.
gaga. Yeah. Huh? Hey, let me ask you a question. Were there any African Americans speaking purely Hebrew in Africa? Was there? Is there any African tribes in Africa right now that claim to be Jews that speak pure Hebrew?
No.
No, not one. They all speak contemporary, if they speak Hebrew at all. It's documented. Because in the 1500s, those people went to that land, the Jewish man, the Ish people, right? The Jewish folks, they went to that land and taught them people that they was a Northern Kingdom. Which is why you so-called Negro-only people think that the Northern Kingdom is in West Africa. Those people don't know that they're the Northern Kingdom because they discontinued from their heritage. Or don't know that they're not the Northern Kingdom because they discontinued from their heritage. The tribe of Gad is not in West Africa. Ephraim is not in West Africa. That's what they were taught in 1524 when the Jewish man got to West Africa to teach them who they were. So that by the time the Balfour Declaration gets, finalized, they would be able to move to that land with no problem, which they did, right? They moved to that land as the Southern Kingdom, assuming the identity of the Southern Kingdom, who's in West Africa. That's what happened, right? While at the same time, there was history coming out on this side of the earth of who the Northern Kingdom was, which is why the Mormons made their whole doctrine, right, off of the Indians being the Northern Kingdom, them wanting to mix with Native Americans so that they could become part of the 10 tribes because they had past and prior documentation that the 10 tribes were over here. Then when Columbus actually got here and met with the 10 tribes, due to Luis de Torres, a Jew of the Southern Kingdom, who was known as a blackamoor, right? And people like Elroy the Danite from the tribe of Dan, also a blackamoor, right? Who was kicked into Algeria in West Africa. These people are literally giving the information to Columbus and everything, because they're the ones that got off the ships and spoke to the folks in this land. They were greeted with the Shema in the Paleo Hebrew, right? Which is what this man, James Adair, was also greeted with by his uh, Israelite counterpart, right? That he had with him while he was exploring. He's documenting the stuff. He's not by himself, even though it reads like that, but he's documenting the stuff, right? When you read James Adair's book, he had Israelites with him. Just like Columbus had Israelites with him. Just like Americo Vespucci had Israelites with him. And all of their explorers and the people that came after them had Israelites with them. Why were they bringing these people? Because they knew at that time how to speak the Paleo. They were still connected to the language. It wasn't stripped from us yet. And they were able to communicate with their brothers and sisters in this land, which is how the so-called white man found out who these people were, which is how they were able to document it in books like this, A Star in the West, books like The Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, books like Black Indians, books like The Negroes, the Hebrewisms of the West, books like The Jews of the West, books like, we could go on and on, right? So why are there all these books with this information that's documented from the 15, 16, 1700s? If these people, they was just lying? So let's read it again. Start from a writer, right? The brother's telling you that they're speaking a pure Hebrew, something we don't have today, which would explain why they have a Decalogue stone, why they have a Los Lunas stone, why they have a Chief Joseph stone, all with the Paleo Hebrew on it, right? Because they spoke the Paleo pure Hebrew. But go ahead, Op.
A writer, Adair, who has had the best opportunity to know the true idiom of their language by residence among them for 40 years,
so he lived with them for 40 years just to make sure these people was who they were. He ain't got no connection to them. He ain't had no babies with none of them. He ain't in the tribe. He's here for information to prove a point, right? So his family's name could live forever. So he could make millions of dollars off a book proving that the Native Americans are the 10 tribes. The Mormons paid him a lot of money to do this because they built their whole doctrine off of what he wrote. It still exists today. It's white people right now in the state of Georgia, where I live, that ride around on a bicycle with a suit on to tell you that they're the 10 tribes. And you could be 2 if you convert. We know the people that they got the doctrine from weren't converting, though. They were the real people.
Right.
The Olmecs came after the Northern Kingdom. Nobody was here before the Northern Kingdom. The Bible says they came to a place where never mankind dwelt. I don't care what type of fake carbon dating you have of whatever Olmec stone you found. Well, you didn't find it. Whatever white man found it, right? The documents from these books that we have prove that the Mexica, the Aztec, the Inca, right? The Mayan, and the Gadite, the Reubenite, right? Native American Indians, so-called. These people were here before anybody else stepped foot on the land. The Olmecs came, who were the Canaanites, right? Mm-hmm. The Moabites came as the Qing dynasty, right? We had some Eskimos come with the Attila the Hun looking for the Qing dynasty, right? So it was a couple other people that came. It's even a rumor that Genghis Khan had a ship that crashed over here, right? There were a group of Asians that came and took Mayans on a boat to Cambodia, which is how they ended up with the pyramids over there, because those are Israelites that were taken in that land, right? Because that ship that came was looking for the people that were on the ship with Attila the Hun. So there's all this connecting history of all these different people that came. I mentioned earlier the Geechee and Gullah people, who are Israelites, right? That also came to this land and stayed here, never left. They came before the Olmecs. Did you know that? Their first ship. It's documented. So these are all things that you got to take into account. All right? But we're going to move on. You at the bottom of this page yet?
No, I was almost there, but here, just start right there. Okay.
Okay.
I'll start at the top again. Uh, a
Or you can start
writer.
at
What?
okay, yeah, that's cool. I
All
was
right.
gonna say you can start to let anyone compare, but
All right. I'll just. All right.
yeah, go ahead.
Let anyone compare the old original Hebrew spoken with so much purity by the Jews before the Babylonian captivity with that spoken by the same people on their return after the comparatively short space of 70 years, and he will find it had become a barbarous mixture of the Hebrew and Chaldaic languages,
Mm-hmm.
so as not to be understood by the ancient Hebrew in a great measure, has continued so to this day.
Right. So what he's basically saying is that the languages that we spoke, the pure Hebrew, right, as pure as it would have gotten is the Hebrew that the Native Americans spoke. He said that even after um the Israelites back in Israel got back to the land, it's documented that the Hebrew that was beginning to be plastered on scrolls and everything like that was a mix of the Chaldaic and Paleo Hebrew, or not Chaldaic Hebrew, but it was mixed the Chaldean and Paleo Hebrew, right? Which you can kind of agree with because that's how they get Aramaic and then all the other languages that come after that, right? And if you look at the Chaldean languages, because Chaldean is a form of Assyrian, if you know anything about them, the Assyrians, Chaldeans lived in Assyria, so they spoke that language, right? The Assyrian language comes from Mesopotamia because the Assyrians were from that time period. So all of that is new, old. It's very old languages, right? And we know that in Mesopotamia, mass majority, if not all of the people, spoke Paleo Hebrew or something very close to it that they called cuneiform, right? So all that put together, the man's telling you that after Babylonian captivity, which Assyrian captivity is before that, right? They don't have a pure Hebrew, pure Paleo. It's a Paleo mixed with Chaldean. These people, the Native Americans, being people that went into captivity to the Assyrians, they would speak a Chaldean Hebrew, right? Because they were literally in captivity to the damn Chaldeans, right? So the Chaldeans dropped them off on the ship with Shalmaneser. And then they traveled to the Americas, still speaking the languages they were speaking in, looking the ways that they was looking when they was mixing with the people in that land, right? So these are the things you have to take into account. They get over here, and the language that they're speaking is a bastardized Hebrew. So as we get into this, you're going to see why they started incorporating the O's and all of that, right? Because that has to do with Assyrian. That's Chaldean. So why would they say Yahweh, right? Or Yahwaha, or Yahweh, or however they might say it, right? It's because some of those tribes were mixing in a Chaldaic or Assyrian language with the Paleo Hebrew that they were speaking. Okay? So, but we're going to actually see it. So go ahead, keep reading that.
Okay. We say such a consideration will show you an almost miraculous intervention of divine providence should a clear trace of the original language be discoverable among the natives of our wilderness at this day.
See? Go ahead.
Their words and sentences are expressive, concise, emphatical, sonorous, and bold. Father
Let's skip
Charlego,
down. Let's skip down. Let's
uh,
skip down to the Algonquin. Let's read that. So we ain't got to read all that. Start here.
the Algonquin especially has a vast extent. It begins at Acadia in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and it takes a compass of 1,200 leagues, 20 from southeast by the north to the southwest. They say also that the Wolf Nation or the Mohegans and the greatest part of the Indians of New England and Virginia speak the Algonquin dialects. The Huron language has a copiousness and energy and a sublimity, perhaps not to be found in any of the finest languages we know of, and those with native tongue it is. Though now but a handful of men have such an elevation of soul as agrees much better with the. I need to scroll.
Yeah, my bad.
As agrees much better with the majesty of their language than with the state to which they are reduced. Some have fancied they found a similarity with the Hebrew. Others have thought it had been the same origin with the Greek. The Algonquin language has not so much. I need you to.
Hold on. I'm coming.
Has not so much force as the Huron.
Right. So we got two different languages here: the Huron and the Algonquin. Right. I'm trying to find something.
These people in the chat.
What's going on in the chat, bro? Because I can't see it. I'm looking at
something. They're not
else.
listening to none of the information. They just.
What are they saying? What's going on?
Native Americans are not.
Oh, okay. So we got the Negro onlys, right?
Yeah, we got them. We got them in here. And what they're not
to you long knee niggas.
I don't want to say shalom to y'all, man. But y'all really have to do what Sirach 11:7 says. Hear the whole matter and then review. Right? Y'all have not heard the whole matter, nor have y'all listened for a second to the argument that we're posing. Because
so here's the question, right? Hold on, Dirac. The question would be, if we're putting out information, right, that's telling you that these people speak Hebrew, what other people on the planet speak Hebrew other than the Israelites? You have other Hebrews, but do they speak Hebrew? The Edomites have their own language. Moabites have their own language. Ammonites have their own language. Ishmael, Arabic. Midian, Arabic. Palestine, Arabic and African. Right? The Phoenician people, the only people that spoke a language close to us, they're not Phoenicians anymore. They now speak other heathen languages, right? Of whatever people group they've been spread around in. So the only people today on the planet and in the past that would have spoke Hebrew are the Hebrew Israelites, right? How are these people not Israelites if their language is the same as the Hebrew Israelites and nobody else on the planet spoke this language? How did it get all the way over here if these people aren't Israelites? This is just a language. We haven't even got to the story of Second Esdras yet, right? No. Soon y'all are going to have to answer, how do they have the exact same story that they passed down of how they got to America that isn't the Bering Strait theory, but is in fact the same story from Second Esdras chapter 13, verse 40 to 49? How do they have that same story if they're not the people of the book? Right? These are questions y'all have to ask while posting the stupid stuff that y'all are posting, right? Native Americans aren't Israelites. Repent, game over. It will keep spreading, no more lies. Black Kohens, right? It's all about black, 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 black. Didn't we just say that? Didn't a white man just say that there were Native Americans that look just like me? Hey, did y'all know I'm a Gadite?
Right.
Don't I look black?
Don't I look black?
My daddy's people from Texas, Comanche, Namuna Tekwapu. That's me. Look, hold up. Hold on. Look. If I type in Comanche family black, right? This, my family. This my great-great-grandfather. This is his half-brother, Clyde. This is my great-great-great-grandfather. This is his daughter. And this is his wife, right?
That's crazy.
That's literally my family. I could show you my granddaddy, what he looked like, and his cousin, Christopher, who looked just like Clyde. Right? I could show you that. This is in my family archive. And guess what? This dude right here is labeled the man that looked like what you would say, an Oriental or whatever, a Negro. Mm-hmm. His name Jerome. How about that, nigga? Anyway,
it's a like it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every time you bring that picture up, man, it's so shocking. It's so
look
shocking.
At me. Look at what I look like. Damn.
Whoa.
We the same. That's me.
Kind of so like it, man. Even scoffing, to me, that in itself kind of proves that the northern kingdom is over here, because we know that Judah is going to vex Ephraim. That's all they doing right now is vexing Ephraim. So even that right there is fulfilling prophecy.
Hold
And
on.
it,
Wait. Time out. See, this is the problem right here, right? Y'all think it's all about look. Has nothing to do with look. Because do I look like a Native American? Didn't I just show you what my parents look like, Don Doofus? Right? So if you see me looking down the street, you would, damn, that brother's from the tribe of Judah. Because that's what y'all say all the time. Right? Elio Bunya Hawada, right? Ain't that the joke y'all all make? I just showed you my great-grandfather, idiot. How he make me? How my dad, Joel Cano, see my pops? He look like a light-skinned black guy. How he look like that? But his granddaddy looked like the guy I just showed you in the picture. Right? How's it possible? Make it make sense. It has nothing to do with skin color. Clyde's daddy was a slave. His family still look black. My family look mixed. Some of us look black, some of us look native. We on the same family though. It's the same granddaddy. His daddy, same. Right? So it's just he's got his pops. He's from the tribe of Judah. He's from the tribe of Gad. That's it. They grew up on the same plantation. They had the same last name, same plight, same curses. Got to see it, got to live it, and they still in my family today, right? But the ironic part is the dude from the tribe of Judah ain't my family. This dude is, and I look like him now. Ain't that something?
Ain't that something?
How'd it happen if we not the same people? Quanah Parker, right? I got cousins look just like him. He's a Comanche. They kids look just like The Rock. How's it happen? Goodness gracious. Anyway,
I don't.
kind of
Hey,
Salakia. Can
I want y'all
share?
to stick around. Hold on, Salak. I want y'all to stick around because we got a whole lot of proof that has to be debunked. So if we're wrong, I want y'all to tell me how they got all this stuff in this book, right? Just stick around because Opie don't bring out no books. Y'all bring out what y'all think about color, right? We're going to debunk the pure seed doctrine too. So Most High, all praise to the Most High that y'all came in here. Because that pure seed thing, the whole reason y'all think Gad and, Hispanics, the ones that's light-skinned, can't look like that is because of what Don said, right? Which one of them looked like, which one of Jacob wives looked like this? Which one of Jacob wives looked like that? Is Blake Griffin not an Israelite? He don't look like one.
Come on now.
Drake looked more Mexican than a Mexican. He don't look like one. His son looked like a damn cracker. Is he not an Israelite no more? Is Numbers 1 and 18 not a thing? You Negro onlys don't believe in the Bible? It don't matter about the mama. If I have an apple seed and I plant it in South America, it's still going to be an apple tree. If I plant it in Canada, it's still going to be an apple tree. The soil different, right? The woman ain't nothing but some soil. Why the seed the same? Why it still come out of apple if I plant it in Africa in some Durban soil as opposed to the nice soft soil in America? Why does it still come out of apple tree? Why it's not a mutated Mamzer apple tree? Right? You niggas don't make no sense. The look don't matter. It don't. It's about the seed, which is why that person that may not look like you could have a seed that look like this. Because the seed can't be tainted. It stayed pure forever throughout its generations. If you get with a white woman, you're still an Israelite if you have a kid. That kid get with a black lady, the kid come out darker than it could come out darker than The Rock. It come out darker than my wife. Right?
Right.
I seen it happen. So we're gonna read the book. the book with the facts in it, right? We're not going to go off of our emotions and look at what skin color and stuff like that.
Right.
Because I just showed you guys a good example. It ain't the looks that mean anything. It's not. I got Puerto Rican family members. I got Dominican family members. I got Native American family members. I got black family members. Some of them married white people, and their kids look light skinned. Are they not Israelites no more? I don't think so. I think they still bruised. Don't matter what they look like, right? So, yeah, we gonna get it though. Where are we at? Let me see. Starting west. All right, you at the Huron. Okay, I want to show this right quick. Salakia. All right, so look, since we was talking about the Algonquin being Hebrew, which is a language of the, it's a type of language of the Native Americans and Hispanics. There's also something called the Uto-Aztecian, right? So since we just read the white man in the book explained to you, and you can go look it up, every website on earth tells you when they did the research, Uto-Aztecian goes back to, Algonquin and Huron go back to the Israelites, right? So now we're going to look up Uto-Aztecian just so we can get all three of the family groups of the Native Americans on paper because they didn't talk to no Uto-Aztecians. You know, that's basically for Issachar. But my people, the Comanche, being from Texas, also spoke Uto-Aztecian. That's how they were able to communicate with the Mexicans because they was the same people. Why is they Hebrew the same as the Mexicans Hebrew? Because they was all Israelites, right? But hold on. Here we go. This shit right here. Can y'all see this? Oh, damn, we in the way. Hold on. Let me remove the duck monkey's comment. Okay. So it says, now check this out, right? This is funny that brother mentioned that precept in Jeremiah because it speaks about Egypt, right? Tell me how the Native Americans have a connection to Egypt if they're not from Egypt, right? If they weren't in Egypt, had nothing to do with Egypt, anything like that. Check this out. The Uto-Aztecian language happens to be a language that's a mix of Egyptian and Uto-Aztecian. Why would they have a language that's Egyptian? Egyptian and Uto-Aztecian, which Uto-Aztecian is a Shemitic biblical Hebrew language, as we see there, right? Why is it that these people are speaking both Egyptian and Paleo Hebrew and it's mixed together if they weren't the people from that time period, right? Furthermore, we have the Olmecs that came here, right? Did they speak Ivory Coast language or did they speak Egyptian? I think they spoke an Ivory Coast language. They didn't speak Egyptian, which is why there's no Egyptian letters or anything like that left here on the Olmec heads. It's all Ivory Coast Canaanite, right? Which is why some of you niggas think that they're Israelites, right? So the point is, this Egyptian dialect that they mixed with has to be something that they carried with them from an Egyptian captivity, right? How about the Egyptians also being a part of the Assyrian captivity, right? So that would mean that it would have the opportunity to mix languages with them, right? And then bring it to the Americas, still speaking that broken Hebrew like the white man just told you they were, right? With the Huron and the Algonquin. So how is the Huron and Algonquin both Hebrew that's broken due to their Chaldean and Assyrian captivity, but in the Uto-Aztecian is broken with Assyrian, which is the Shemitic, the biblical Hebrew, and Egyptian. And these people was never in the Assyrian and Egyptian captivities, the only captivity in mass that the so-called Northern Kingdom was in. Damn. How does that happen? The Northern Kingdom's only been involved in 3 captivities, guys, in mass. You got Egypt, Assyria, and America. The last one. How do they have languages from 2 of the captivities and a stone, the Chief Joseph stone from Assyria, if they wasn't the people in that captivity?
Right.
Make it make sense. Because ain't nobody in Africa that's called the tribe of Gad or the tribe of Ephraim that has these languages or any stones to prove they was in them captivities. How do these people way over there have that stuff? What, the white man took it from the Africans and brought it all the way to some Native Americans, some lost tribes, and left it there? They would go through all that work? Are you stupid or dumb? Which one? Go ahead, Ak. You had something to say?
In Salakia, with that being said, Jeremiah 50:33, you know, we were oppressed together. Judah and Ephraim was oppressed together. So if they're not, then we damn near got a whole nother captivity.
No, not damn near, Ak. We do, because when was the Northern Kingdom, the tribe of Gad, when was we oppressed in Africa together?
Never.
Right.
So
that means we got another captivity where we have to fulfill that prophecy, right?
Man,
y'all are dumber than, like, the doctrine gets dumber and dumber every time it come out. The more history that comes out, it's less stuff y'all can say. That's why they leave the room, because they realize, damn, we can't debate this. He got a point there. You're gonna see, ain't gonna be too many of them talking, because when real proof comes out, when real facts come out, they like to leave. They don't have nothing to say. Ain't nothing for them to communicate after that. They just go back and make another video. Well, look at the skin color. Which one of the tribes look like this? It's all about the looks. But we're gonna get at the end of this presentation, we're gonna show y'all looks don't mean a thing. It don't. And once you realize that there's no possible way to taint an Israelite seed, because that's what Opie teaches, right? They teach that you could taint the seed of Israel by mixing with a foreign woman, which is an incorrect way to teach Deuteronomy 7, in Tobit 4 and 12, in Ezra 9, in Nehemiah 11. It's a wrong way to teach that, because it tells you why those stipulations were put in place. 1 Kings 11 tells you why Solomon was wrong. It wasn't because he mixed with women. It was because they turned his heart from the Most High God. And the Most High knew that you was going to do that if you go for that foreign kobat. That's what it is.
And then again, they just going to have to explain why it's two gates, or why it's a gate in heaven for people or descendants whose mother is not of the seed of Israel, Ephraim and Manasseh. How you get around that?
It's a heathen. Oh, no, it don't matter. She's black, right? She looked like an Egyptian. You know, there was some Egyptians back in the day. Moses looked like an Egyptian. So because they're black, it's cool that Ephraim and Manasseh was like that, because they mama probably looked like one of the 12 tribes. That's the logic, right? What about Belhi and Zilpah? Did they look like the 12 tribes? Don't you know that there's tribes that come from them women? They wasn't Egyptian. You idiot. But anyway, back to the book. But I wanted to show y'all this, right? Just so we see all three of the language family groups of the Native Americans and Hispanics: Algonquin, Uto-Aztecian, Incan, which is a form of Uto-Aztecian, and a Huron for the Northern Kingdom Israelites up in Canada, right? The Chippewa, the Mohegan, all of that stuff. These people all have a language that goes back to the biblical Hebrew, okay? Preserved in the biblical Hebrew language and closely related to the Aramaic dialect, which they incorrectly say that the New Testament was written in, right? Which is the only reason why they mentioned it here, to let you know that these people would be connected to the New Testament people as well. The more facts come out, the less your doctrine sticks. Yeah, right there with Syrian. Exactly. Okay? The more stuff come out, the less your doctrine sticks. It's less y'all going to be able to say. We ain't even got through half of the points I had in this book yet. We only on the language part. Y'all can't put all of the comments that they had in the chat. What not one comment on how this is incorrect about the language. Ain't that something? It was all about what they skin color looked like. Which one of the 12 tribes' mother looked like that? Then y'all realize they went into captivity. So how they looked before captivity don't matter no more. Y'all ain't think about that? Once you go into captivity, how you looked before captivity don't matter no more. Because in captivity, you don't get to choose who you get to sleep with. It was African American people sleeping with their mamas. They was being forced to do it.
Right. A lot of it is
I
jealousy.
could pull up. I could pull up right now an article that explains to you that there was a group of female conquistadors from the 1600s to the 1800s. They helped people like Cortez rape and pillage Native Americans. I don't want y'all all tells you all the time that his family was raped by a white woman, basically, right? He had family that was taken by a white woman, forced to have kids with her and stuff like that. Those kids would still be Israelites. They were with a white woman. The kid might look light skinned, but it was a white woman, right?
Right.
So the kid's still an Israelite. You know that happened to a lot of the Gadites and Native Americans, a lot of the Gadites, Reubenites, and Issacharites too, because there was literal ships of women that came here. Whether they were married or not, they're still making Indians sleep with them, and they're having children. In the 1800s, there was a boatload of nothing but white women that was sent to Brazil and South America just so they could whiten up the population. But know how they sent white women to keep the population Israelite. They just wanted to whiten them up. Help you guys change the doctrine. Turn the heart of their people to the heart of, white Jesus. Right? Which is where it's at now. Make everybody be color struck on light skin versus dark skin. It's articles that tell you they did this stuff. If you think in the 1800s they put a boatload of Edomite women and sent them to South America, you don't think they did it in Central America and Mexico and North America first? Like, these are the things y'all got to think about. But because the brothers don't know history, right? Brothers don't read books like the books we putting up there. And when they do read the books, don't have no way of refuting the information. It's just them going back off of them color struck, well, who looked like this? It don't matter. Because there was a whole bunch of Assyrians, right? For hundreds of years that these people was being forced to sleep with. They were the dominant people at the time. Assyrians were a very barbaric people. You ever seen Game of Thrones? You know Khal Drogo and them? Daenerys Targaryen husband? The dude from the what's his name?
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, Jason Momoa, right? The dude that was married to the black girl from that one show I used to like in the 90s.
You talking about Aquaman? Just say Aquaman.
Yeah, the Aquaman dude, right? He's in a Native American movie too, where he's actually telling you history about the Native Americans and how they was getting raped and stuff like that during the fur trade in America, right? But aside from that, the people that Jason Momoa was playing in that time period were people that were likened after the Assyrians. When you do the history of those people, they were a mix of the Akkadian and Assyrian people, which are damn near the same folks. So if you see how barbaric those people were depicted in that TV show, that's how the Assyrians were. You don't think those people are making Native Americans have sex with them and stuff like that? Or Gadites mix with them? As the white man was making you do it here? As Ham was making you do it in Africa? As Ishmael was making you doing it during the Arab slave trade? Moab was making you doing it on the Silk Road? All of them did the same thing. But strategically, they knew we should keep some of their seed, Israelite. So we could say we subdued them.
So like I got a
did
precept.
certain things to make that be the case. Go ahead,
It's the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So we know that it was already a strategy of the other nations to do to Israelites, like how the brothers just explained it, about having, using our men as harlots. A lot of times we think it's just the women is used, sexually, but no, the men were used as well. I mean, you can see in that movie, Goodbye, Uncle Tom, where at one of the slave ports, it was a Edomite. They were like nuns buying little slave boys to have be kind of workers at their little churches. I can't think of the name of it, but they was using them as sex slaves. So they been doing this.
Oh, all right. I'm trying to find this. Okay, we good.
You want to start the Mohican language?
Now I want to start a little bit below that. Where's the past Dr. Edwards? All right. I think I want to start right here. Nope. The language of the Delaware. Right here. Start at the language of the Delawares.
All right. The language of the Delawares in Pennsylvania of the
Hold
Penobscot.
on. Let me zoom in for you. My bad. All right.
All right. The language of the Delawares of Pennsylvania, of the Penobscots bordering of Nova Scotia, of the Indians of St. Francis in Canada, of the Shawanese on the Ohio, and of the Chippewas of
Right.
the
Okay. So look, just to show you how the distinction, right? Because these people don't look the same, mind you. Okay. Look, we got Nova Scotia, right? The Delawares of Pennsylvania. Those would have been brown skin Israelites, right? We got the Pincoats of Nova Scotia. They're light skinned Israelites. We got the Indians of St. Francis, light skinned Israelites. You got the Shawnee of Ohio, black people, right? They look like Negroes. Because my grandmother's part Shawnee and Blackfoot. The Shawnee and Blackfoot are of the Shoshone Nation. My tribe, the Comanches, also a part of the Shoshone Nation, but there is two Shoshones. There was a black Shoshone and a brown Shoshone, right? They split because one start mixing with the Gullah people. So, or the Geechee. Gullah is the language they speak. So the Geechee people, right? So they end up mixing with them. They end up looking the same complexion and everything like that. The other people split. They stay to the south, which is how the Shawnees leave Ohio and end up going to the south, right? And the other group that was in Ohio ended up going west, which is how my people got to Texas. So that's all the same group, right? Chippewa, white looking North American Indians, if you look at them now, because they live in Canada, right? Back then they would have been brown skin. Okay, go ahead, keep reading.
and of the Chippewas at the westward of Lake Huron were all radically the same with the Mohican. The same is said of the Ottawas, the Natincokes, the Muncies, the Menomies, the Messigas, yeah, the Saukis, the Ottagamis, the Killistones, the Nipegons, the Algonkins, the Winnebagos, etc.
Right. So look, some of these even have Asian type names because there were Asians that came amongst them, right? The Ottagawans, they were of the they were a mix of Indians that also mixed with the King dynasty, right? The Ottagawans were people that were with King Otagawa. You can look him up. Ieyasu Otogawa, right? He's a Japanese, he's an Ammonite. He had a ship that came over here. They docked somewhere near Canada, and then they mixed with these people, right? So some of them would look Oriental. That doesn't mean all of the Ottagawis was Oriental people, but I'm sure that some of them look Oriental, even though they would still be Gadite, because you can't change the seed. Doesn't mean they didn't mix with one of the women, though, from that nation, right? So these are the things you have to think about. But you got to know the history to be able to think about it. Let me see. I need to scroll down. That's all I wanted there. Y'all got something while I look for this? This particular.
Well, let me
This is
know
where I
when
want
you
to stay right here.
let me know when you want to get the name of the Most High that Gadites was saying.
Oh, we're gonna do that because it's about to come up in here too. So I want you to get that once we get it in here.
Huh.
But go ahead and read in this particular.
In this particular, the structure of their language coincides with that of the Hebrew. In an instance in which the Hebrew differs from all the languages of Europe, ancient and modern, with this only difference that the Hebrews always join the affixes to the ends of the words, whereas the Indians in pronouns of the singular number prefix the letter or syllable, but in the plural Number, they add others as suffixes.
Right. So that's all I wanted there, just to show you why there's a difference in the way that they speak Hebrew. And this goes back to what he said earlier, resulting in the fact that they're, degenerated from their ancestors, and that after their Assyrian captivity, they actually mixed the Hebrew that they were speaking with Assyrian, right? So, and he said the same thing happened with y'all in Babylon. So you can go ahead and get what you was gonna get now, Ak, and I'm gonna read this to them while you find what you gotta find.
All
This is
right,
just a little bit of stuff y'all can see, right? So he's got English here. He's got Caribbean to let you know that those people were speaking a similar language, right? So you can't say that the Taino and the Arawak are different because theirs matches up too with the Hebrew, right? And then you see the Creeks, which would be the people that would you would liken to the Gadites in North America, right? And you see that they use the words too. So if we just look at the name of the Most High, right? We have in English, they put Jehovah, right? The Caribbean, Yakana, right? Which would be it would be a rendition of Jehovah, right? Yachana. It wasn't Jakana, it was Yachana, right? And then you have Yahahowa, right? Or Yahweh, which is what he's going to show you at the end on the next page, okay? And then you got Jehovah, all right? And he says that the Creeks and the Mohicans would have said it the same way. It would have been a rendition of Yaheowa or Yahweh, because we're going to read that later on in just a moment, right? So we see here, excuse me, he's able to give you the names of what they're saying because they said this stuff in front of the man, right? There were multiple people that documented these things, because the thing that Brother Aharon is going to show you, what book is that from, Mark?
this is the James Adair.
Okay, so he's about to give you James Adair, right? So you're going to see two different white men that were around in this time period, right? This is the Star in the West account. He's going to give you James Adair's account, the white man that lived with them for 40 years, right?
Gone.
So just to move on, let's see what else we got. Yeah, so down here, right? The great first cause, you got Yahweh, right? And Jehovah. So you see there was two ways they said the name. Yahweh or Yahweh, right? Which we know the Hey would have been a Ha and the Yo would have been a Yah, right? But this is them mixing up, using different vowels and suffixes as they just finished explaining, putting them at the ending or beginning of words a little different because of them being confused after their Assyrian captivity. But the way they kept the name is just as close as Yahweh, right? Which is what we was calling the Most High when we was in the Christian church. It's no different, but it's the same rendition, showing the same name of the same God, meaning they are the people that knew this deity, right? The only people, because according to Amos chapter 3, it's only one family on earth that he knew, right? Only one people on the planet that would know his name. That's why the Muslims don't call him Yahweh, they call him Allah, right? The Jewish man don't call him Yahweh, they call him Hashem. There's only one people on the planet that know the name of the Most High. So how do the natives know his name if they're not his people? See, y'all be not wanting to make the prophecies be true, but then the prophecies be true and y'all don't want to believe the Bible. Like, it don't make no sense. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that we have to be cognizant of and really just take into account, man, because y'all be really doing some weird stuff. Oh, damn, I just changed the page on me. But yeah, go ahead. Bring that up.
All right, I'm about to share.
I gotta get that. I might have to do it. Yeah, share your screen, put it up there, and then I'll be able to post it.
Hey, Salakia Adawan, don't forget
Go
these
ahead.
don't forget these points we got in Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Right?
Oh yeah, we're still gonna get that.
Huh, can you see my screen?
We can.
It's a lot of ammo, and it's a lot of points that these people gotta refute. This person in the chat, sip on Sage tea, is talking mad cash money stuff, and he need to get kicked out, right? Because he is not even listening or regarding any of the information that's being brought out. We're seeing that these brothers and these Native Americans that you're saying F are calling the Most High by his name or close renditions.
Wait, hold on. He's saying He's a Confederated Lakota, so that would technically mean you're a Gadite, brother. Look, I'm not talking about the $5 Indians. When I say Native American, I'm talking about, you know, the people that's from this land, whether they black or brown. I'm a Native American, so-called. I'm a Gadite, Comanche Numunu Tekwapu, right? So if you're a Lakota, you would be a Gadite. That's what they're called by nation in the Bible, right? So it's not F the Native Americans, because you would technically be who I'm talking about, Mr. Lakota. Go ahead, I. Wow.
Come on, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we see it.
It's
Oh,
okay.
come on. All right. So look, this is even the table of contents right here. Now, mind you, this is the history of the Native American Indians written by James Adair, who came over here to the Americas in the 1730s. Just looking, so at one of the chapters is the worship of Jehovah, right? Another one is their belief in the ministration of angels, the laws of uncleanness, their obedience, their abstinence from unclean things, marriages and divorces, and punishment of adultery, right? And this I don't need to read that. All right, so look right here. So James Adair, he's depicting a religious ceremony that he's seeing taking place, right? And it says the eldest of the priests leads the sacred dance ahead of the innermost row, which the course is next to be a holy fire. So you see, he begins the dance around the supposed holy fire, invoking Yah after their usual manner on the bass key, and with a short accent he sings yo yo, which is repeated by the rest of the religious procession, and he continues his sacred invocations and practices, repeating the divine words or notes till they return to the same point in the in the circular course where they begin hey hey in the manner and wah wah, right? So you see right now they're saying Yahweh, which is very close to Yahweh, right? While dancing, they would never fail to repeat those notes. And frequently, the holy train strike up the hallelujah, 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 and alleluia. That's not found anywhere else. You know, what the imagery I get on this is when David danced for the Most High. You know what I mean? When he was praising the Most High and danced big. You know, so that spirit right there is, is a bearing witness. I'm gonna scroll down here. It says they repeated holy ground echoes with the praises of Yehovah. Their singing and dancing 3 circles around the sacred fire appears to have a reference to a like religious custom of the Hebrews. And you can see right there, as he's talking about how these are Hebrew words, the like cannot be found in other countries. You see, it's not anywhere else.
It's a lot, yeah.
Go ahead.
So we actually cannot see what you're reading right now. We still see the table of contents.
What?
No,
You
now we
can't
can
see
see
what
it.
you
No,
can
I
see.
see it.
We can see it now. Now it
Con. We
just
see it.
now I'm watching it on the YouTube as well, and it just changed.
Oh,
It's
all
probably
right.
a little delayed in. That's probably all it is.
Okay. Well, yeah. See what I read. What I read is this here. All right. Now I'll see. I'll scroll. All right. That's what it said. It cannot be found in any other country. Right. And then as the right, this is going here, but okay. They sing likewise, Hewa, Hewa, as deriving from the rational faculties of Yehovah, right? In their circling, in their circuiting dances, they frequently sing on a bass key, Alleluia, 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 right? And which is the Hebrew word, and it's given here. They likewise sing Shibayo, Shibayo, Shibayu, Shibahe, Shibawa, and Shibahab Hab. The point is, they're showing that in their religious practices they would invoke the name Yahweh, basically. You know what I mean? And which, like, once again, this can't be refuted. Or if you do, find me a book written in the 1700s for somebody saying something different.
Salakia. that
Con.
actually lived with the people group for 40 years.
40 years.
This is a primary source.
Right.
So you Negro onlys need to do your scholarship and find primary sources that back up your argument. Because what we did was we chopped your head off with all of these sources and primary first hand sources that are telling you what these people are saying doing their acts of worship, the traditions that they are doing, the languages that they're speaking, and y'all are just confounded, man. It's crazy. And
Yeah,
and,
bro.
and, it's more. That's the craziest part about this lesson. There's more information.
Man, there's so much brothers probably not even gonna get to.
Yeah, we
Exactly.
Right.
not. But look, we're gonna get back to the Star in the West right quick. Good precept, Bob. So as y'all see, right, this literally backed up everything we just said, right? From the man that lived with them for 40 years. So it's no way you could say that the stuff that's in this book is fake, because now we just brought out another witness, right? From a different time period. So back to the book. Now here is gonna be something that your Negro onlys aren't gonna like, right? Because this is where we're gonna actually get to see their correlation with Second Esdras chapter 13, right? So we're gonna get a couple of these stories, we're gonna put them together, and when we finish, and you read the correlation of how they all come together and everything, we're basically gonna go from there to reading Second Esdras, and then we'll be able to get the precepts about the what you call it, the high priest and how they dress and everything like that too. All right. So if you could start at as the Indian nations.
All right.
Y'all take notes. Pay attention to this. This is on page 61 of the actual book. On the PDF file, page 109. All right.
I can go ahead and read it again.
So if you got the book from the 1800s, it's page 109. So page 61 in the book of real time. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah, let me see if I can see it on that thing. You may gotta
Oh,
zoom
hold
in a
on.
little bit,
Here, I'll
more.
do you like this. I
Okay.
got you.
So it says, have s- okay, as the Indian nations have not the assistance afforded by the means of writing and reading, they're obligated to have recourse
They're
to
obliged.
obliged to have recourse to traditions, as do Praz second volume to 169 has justified observed to preserve the remembrance of remarkable transactions of historical facts, and the traditions cannot be preserved but by frequent repetitions. Consequently, many of their young men are often employed in hearkening to the old beloved men, narrating the history of their ancestors, which is their transmitted from generation to generation.
So look, just to break down what he just read, it's letting you know that they didn't write things down per se, right? They weren't people that wrote things on paper. They were people of oral tradition, which is honestly what we had back in the day, right? Which is why brothers had to start scribing stuff so we'd be able to pass down the oral tradition correctly. Okay? But oral tradition is something we had from the time of Mesopotamia, we had oral tradition in Egypt, we had oral tradition, everything, right? So first time that the tradition became non-oral was when Moses got some tablets, and then he still presented the information to us orally by disseminating the laws to us, right? Which we could pass down from generation to generation. So it was still an oral tradition, even though we were able to put it on paper, right? So this is more facts that they're Israelites. But he's telling you that due to them not writing stuff on paper, the way that they preserved stuff was through repetition and then passing it down from generation to generation. And they would implore their younger generation to hearken unto the things of their older generation, right? So with that understanding, let's continue.
In
In order
order
to preserve,
in order to preserve them pure and incorrupt, they are careful not to deliver them indifferently to all their young people, but only to the young people of whom they have best opinion.
See? So that's what I was telling you guys earlier. How the reason a lot of Native Americans now are lost to the fact that they're Israelites, they don't know why they wear fringes. They don't know why they have a border of blue on their garments when they do their celebrations. They don't know why they dance the way they do. They don't know why they chant Yahweh, Yahweh, right? They don't know why they do none of that stuff no more. They don't know why they go Hallelujah, Hallelujah. They don't even know what it means, right? So, but we see that it's stuff that they chant. So these type of things, and I'll give you the other pages because I have pages in here where I was going to show that where they actually say hallelujah, Yahweh, all of that. But since the brother brought out what he brought out, I'll give you them pages at the end of this thing because I ain't gonna bring it out. But yeah, it's telling you here that they're literally passing down this information only to the brothers that they trust, right? They didn't give it to no sisters because the sisters can't pass down the information, right? They can only teach the stuff to their kids that they're supposed to be taught. But they expected the people that were going to have this information, those men were going to pass that information down to their sons, right? Which a lot of them did. So with that,
You want to
keep reading.
It says they hold it as certain fact, as delivered down from their ancestors, that their forefathers in very remote ages came from a far distant country by the way of the west, where all the people were of one color, and that in process of time they moved eastward to their present settlement.
So look, what you're gonna see, this is uh this is kind of a mix of different things that they had, right? Of different stories that they put together and stuff like that. So what we're gonna do is read the different stories, and at the end of all of these things being put together, I'm gonna tell you how to base them or how to put them together. Because what he did in this part of the section of the book, and it tells you in this book particularly, not in that book, tells you that these are compiled information. So it's compiled stories from different tribes. He's got the Chickasaw tribe telling you one story, the Mexicans telling you another story, southeastern Israelites telling you one story, middle America, East, like Native Americans telling you another story, but he put them all together to let you see how, even though they're from natives that are scattered throughout the Americas, they all have the same, if not very similar stories on how they got here and who they are, right? So this particular story is telling you how they got, how they separated themselves into tribes, if y'all didn't realize that. It's telling you that they started from the west and moved their way east. If you look at a map, here. In fact, let's do that, right? These are the things we got to do for the Negro only people. How did the brothers and sisters, who look like an Oriental, who look like a Native American? They should all look black. All right, so look, the reason why the black natives look the way they look is because the reason the black Indians look the way they look is because they were the last place that was inhabited by the tribe of Gad and Reuben, the southeast. The first places that they took over, according to the stories that we're going to read, they moved from the south, meaning South America, worked their way up, and they did it from the west. So there was a whole lot of natives in Middle America, in the Mexico, New Mexico, Nevada, California, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Kansas area, right? Oklahoma. It's all of these different places that majority of the natives were inhabiting because they moved from the west and took over the United States west to east, right? If you look at a map, let's look at this one. Let me see. No, that's Amazon. Let's not do that. Hold on. Map. Okay. Let me share this screen. Okay. Everybody can see this? All right. So if you look at the map, right? If we scroll down, say we dock right here. Boom. Right? So we got people, they move up through Mexico, right? Now, when you come into Mexico, Where are you at in the United States?
Texas,
This is the West, right?
kind of,
Con.
yes,
Right?
kind.
So here, now read this part. It says, they hold a certain fact as delivered down from their ancestors that their forefathers in very remote ages came from a distant country. That distant country would be Israel, right? By the way of the West. So then they land in the Americas, and by the way of the West, where all the people were of one color, because they haven't completely separated yet, that in the process of time, they moved eastward. But over time, we moved to the east in set settlements, right? So all Israelites from one West always taught, contrary to the belief of the long knee niggas, right? That we came from South America and moved our way up. If you look at the story from a star in the west, they're telling you they started from the east, which if you move your way from from the west, if you're coming from Mexico, which they would have had to be to move their way up and still be on land, it takes them in the west of the United States. So it would be easy to inhabit places like California, Arizona, Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, right? All these places got Israelite names still. Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Tejas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. These are all tribes, right? They're just renditions of Hebrew words mixed with Assyrian. But these are all tribes still. They kept the names because these are the places where the most of them were at. Why were most of them here? Because this is where they came first when they took the land. The second Esdras tells you that Gad took the leader's portion, the lawgiver's portion for himself. Why would he take all of this land? Because it's more spacious than all of this. And here, it's a lot of mountains. This is not land that you would like. It's a lot of floods and everything that happens here. This was the most desirable land. And why would it be desirable? Because there's a lot of mountains on the East Coast, but ironically, in the West, it's called the plains, right? It's a lot of flat land. When you go into what is this? Yo, somebody block the people that posted in the chat. If you a mod, please. Y'all supposed to be getting to
What
that,
the
man.
hell?
You ain't supposed to let that happen. But anyway, so yeah, the plains, right? So the plains is flat land. That's why it was manageable for them to do and for them to take, place that they would love to be at. If you go into Genesis, Exodus, right? Deuteronomy, Joshua, right? And you remember when the Gadites, half the tribe of Manasseh, right, and Reuben got their land, they liked the land where it would be easy to keep animals for grazing because they were very rich when it came to having those type of animals. Those are the type of people they are. They were those same people, nomadic type in Assyria, and when they got to the Americas, they kept those traditions. So why not be the ones that live on the land that they lived in, or that's similar to the land they lived in Israel, right? Even the layout is the same. North America, or the leaders portion, had the same type of land that they had in Israel. So these are also things that you have to take into account, right? So that's just to show you that map. So as you see, they came from the west and then moved east. That's why the so-called dark skin, the brown skin, African looking Native Americans would look like that. Because once they came into contact with the Geechee and Gullah people, there was nobody coming to mix with them until the white man got here. So when Columbus people documented that they saw brown skin natives, that's why they didn't come to the east. They only touched foot on the west, right? When the ones that actually traveled through, they saw the ones that looked brown and then the ones that looked oriental, but they saw more of those than brown than the African looking ones, the ones that look Ethiopian, as Columbus's memoirs say, right? They see more of the brown ones with the long hair because that's what they looked like when they came from Assyria. As it said, they were all one color of one complexion. That's what they mostly looked like when they came over here, which is why that's mostly what you see. right? If you know anything about the Geechee Gullah people and those people that were in that region, you know why those darker skinned natives would look like that and why they stayed that way.
Mm-hmm.
It all makes sense if you want it to make sense. But we're going to continue. Let's get the next part. This is going to be mind blowing. Real talk. When y'all get the rest of these little stories and stuff that they send, go ahead and read the tradition. Start with the traditions.
This tradition is corroborated by a current report among them, related to the old Chickasaw Indians to our traders, that now, about 100 years ago, there came from Mexico some of the old Chickasaw nation, or as
Wow.
the
How they came from Mexico, Ak? If they just came, it was supposed to be the Bering Strait, right? Right? That's how we got here. We came from the Bering Strait. You know what I'm saying?
right.
The Ice Age and all that. We came from the north. We was the Oriental Asian folks that just came and, you know, we traveled through Canada and the North Pole and all that stuff, and then we landed in Michigan and moved our way down, right? No, they're telling you that they came up from Mexico. They came up from Mexico. That means they started lower than that, right? Go ahead, though. Keep going.
Some of the old Chickasaw nation, or as the Spaniards call them, Chicamicas or Chichimicas, in quest of their brethren, as far north as the
Wait, hold up. So it said they're moving up in quest of their brethren, meaning they have brothers that already moved up. Gad took the leader's portion for himself. All right, y'all, deuces. We're going to go up and find this nice land, right? Ironically, the Chickasaw, right? There's like half Chickasaw that's Aztec, half Chickasaw that's Native American. This is obviously the Aztec Chickasaws because they went up north looking for their brethren. Ding, 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 ding. Why is Issachar going up north? Because that's where Gad went. Why are they going up north if we started in the north? Wouldn't they be going south? Oh, okay. So that means the Bering Strait's debunked now, right? Go ahead.
in quest of their brethren, as far north as the Aquahapa nation, above 130 miles above the Natchez, or on the southeast side of the Mississippi River.
So they ain't go past the Mississippi. This particular tribe. Mississippi ain't nowhere near Michigan. Y'all crazy, bro. Go ahead.
But through French policy, they were either killed or sent back.
And they're letting you know through French policy, right? So some of these people were still migrating from the south when the crackers was here. We still had people moving from Cortez into Native American lands, which is why there's so many Native Americans that resemble some of the Aztecs. You look at a brother like Mario Barrios. Why is there so many Native Americans look like him? He's an Aztec. A lot of them Issacharites was moving to North American lands, and now they're called Gadites. Yeah, there's Issacharite tribes in North America too. I just told you there's a Chickasaw that's Aztec, there's a Chickasaw that's Gadite. There's a Comanche that's Aztec, there's a Comanche that's Gadite. Right? So let's move on. You there?
Oh, okay. So as to prevent their opening a brotherly intercourse with them as they had proposed. It is also said that the
Nakatoas. Noatakalas.
Noatakalas believed that they dwelt in another region before they settled in Mexico.
Right? So these people are telling you that they dwelt in another region before they was in Mexico, right? Further south. And in another region, like other side of the earth, right? Because they're going to get all of that. It's going to all come together as we read the rest of it. Go ahead.
That their forefathers wandered 80 years in search of it.
Damn. That's a passed down tradition. They're telling you that they had some land that they was wandering in for 80 years. We're gonna
through a
read
strict
what Second Ezra say too. Go ahead.
through a strict obedience to the commands of the Great Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
who ordered them to go in quest of new lands.
Dang. So they're saying that they went to new lands, right? What is it? Hey, just read Durat. Can you get Second Ezra chapter 13 right quick?
I got it. I'm right here.
No, I don't want you to read it because you're reading this part.
Okay.
Let's let Durat get it.
What verse will we start at the top? No.
Okay. She.
You hear me?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I know what it's at.
Brothers is wild.
You want me to start?
Look, and then you got confused brothers like this. The niggas that listen to, man, what's that fat boy on YouTube name? I don't even remember his name. The folks that think there wasn't no slave trade, all black people are Native Americans, and Israel is in Peru, and all of that crap. Niggas. Doctrine. Go ahead.
It's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their land, and at the time of Hosea the king, who Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took
There you go, Dan Calloway, that duck monkey, yeah, that brother.
Callaway.
Right? Stop listening to that fool, man. He don't know what he's talking about at all. And I bet he ain't even no native. He just think he is. I bet he's a nigga. I bet it. Right. Go ahead.
It says, verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth unto a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Mm-hmm.
That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Okay. So they're going to another land to keep statues that they never kept in their own land because they know the Most High wants them to do that, right?
Right.
These people just said that their fathers told them a story of them living in a distant land, right? If that's not clear enough, we're going to get the rest of the stories because it's going to get more in depth.
That's right.
Let's start here at, let's just start here. Our Southern Indians, right?
Our Southern
and then you
Indians.
see here, they're even making a distinction between the Indians because they know the Southern Indians would be the ones that look like the Geechee Gullah people, right? Mm-hmm. So they look like Brother Jonathan. You know what I'm saying? For real, right?
Right.
That's who they would look like. So, go ahead.
Our Southern Indians have also a tradition among them which they firmly believe that of old time their ancestors lived beyond a great river.
What's the great river? Dang. All right, go ahead.
That 9 parts of their nation out of 10 passed over the river, but the remainder refused and stayed behind.
Whoa. What that sound like? Hey, go back to the Second Ezra.
I'm still here.
It said that they went to a distant land, right? Mm-hmm. They had, it's telling you, our Southern Indians have a tradition among them that they firmly believe that of old time their ancestors lived beyond the Great River. We know that what we call the Great River would be the ocean, right? That 9 parts of their nation out of 10 passed over the river, right? So there was tribes or a tribe that stayed. The rest of them left, right? So, yeah. And there's speculation on who I could tell you who that tribe is that stayed, but we could get that another time. Go ahead.
They had a king. They had a king when they lived far to the west who left 2 sons.
Right? So he left 2 sons. Okay? That's all I want there. Let's go down. It is said among them.
It is said among their principal or beloved men that they have it handed down from their ancestors that the book which the white people have was once theirs.
Wait, why are they saying that? Why'd they say that? So now, wait, the book that the white people have was once theirs, and they just gave you an account from the book that the white people have of how they once lived beyond the great river, and now they then came to a distant land. They had a king that even left his sons because they didn't want to get in a boat. Bro, what is this? The other people just told you that when they got to this land, they moved up. They traveled for like 80 years on foot in this land just to get to where they was at from Mexico. Come on, bro. They're not from here. They come from the Great River, a land beyond the Great River. The same story that Second Esdras just told you. But wait, there's more. Right? Now the book that the white folks has was once theirs. Keep reading.
That while they, let me scroll. That while they had it, they prospered exceedingly.
Mm-hmm.
But that the white people had bought it of them and learned many things from it, while the Indians lost their credit, offended the Great Spirit, and suffered exceedingly from their neighboring nations.
Dang. Dang, Cowboy ain't teach you that. Give me the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43. Because how do they know that that happened to them by way of the Great Spirit if they don't remember that Moses told them it was going to happen to them by way of the Great Spirit if they don't hearken to him?
This the book
How
of
they didn't told you what Ezra's story was about where they came from, how they got here, how they traveled, match exactly what one West teach. Let me see if I got this map. I'm going to try to find a map. Now we see them actually telling you that the book that the crackers have was once theirs. When they had it, they prospered exceedingly. Going back to the time when David was king, right? Gad remembers that. We had mighty men. We had Gad the seer. We had our own land. It was a lot. You know what I'm saying? Then we go into captivity. All that's taken away. And they remember that. We offended the Great Spirit and suffered exceedingly from our neighboring nations. Who? Assyria. Who? Ammon, Moab, Canaan, right? Because we even suffered when we got to this land. Who else was a neighboring nation? All the people that was with us in Assyria. Who all did the Assyrians take over? The Medians, the Persians, Ishmael, Canaanites, Egyptians. There was a little bit of Esau in there too, if they was ever taken captive by an Assyrian. So all of these nations round about were people that we served in Assyria, mixed to it in Assyria, did things to us in Assyria, right? Which is us suffering exceedingly from neighboring nations. Now watch how the Bible that they say they had also matches up with that. Go ahead and drop that for me.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 43.
Mm-hmm.
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
Right?
He should be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
So they knew that this was going to happen. Go ahead.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep all his commandments and the statutes which he commanded thee. And they should be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
Oh, we offended the Great Spirit, right? So now he's going to make us serve the people round about us, right? suffer exceedingly from neighboring nations when we were prospering exceedingly over the neighboring nations, right? Dang. How did they notice if the book was never theirs?
Right. Salakia.
Fopi got to answer that.
They can't.
Y'all got to answer that. Y'all can't say, it don't matter. Which one of them look like Jacob?
They gonna refute it.
How you know what Jacob looked like? You seen him?
No.
How you know? How you know what Isaac looked like? You seen him? But anyway, go ahead. There's more. You got a precept?
Nah, I actually, the point in Lost Tribes and Promised Lands actually goes.
Oh yeah, you want to
up.
get that now? You want to get that now? Go ahead.
We can definitely get this now. So this is Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, right? This book, it basically goes into the same thing with the topic we're reading about, right? I'm on page 148, right? And I'll read from the top. The Spaniards had barely been shown their quarters when Cortez was led by the Aztec emperor in a large room and was told to sit on the throne there. Then, according to Cortez's account, Montezuma proceeded to regale him with gifts and to tell him this story. Long ago, in our sacred writings, our ancestors informed us that neither I nor any of the other inhabitants of this land are indigenous to it, but are foreigners, come here from a completely different place, and that our race was brought here by a lord, by a lord whose vessels they all were, who then returned to his native country. After a long time, he came here again and found the men had he had left behind now married to the native women in country, and how many children and living in the villages they built. He wanted to take them back with him, but they would not go. They wouldn't even accept him as their lord. So he went home. That's getting to their sacred writing, which telling them what that they not even from there, right?
And who is that? What tribe is that?
This is going into Montezuma. So this is the Aztec. This is Issachar, right?
So that goes into. I mean, that's proof that what we were just reading about Issachar, the Choctaws that was in Mexico, knowing the same history as the Gadites, that confirms it in a totally different book. That's ain't James Adair or Star in the West. This is
they said in this book too. And
what's that?
This is History of the Indies of New Spain by Fray Diego Duran. They said in this book too.
Man,
you know what I'm saying? So we just read that they say the book was there. So I'm trying to find it in here. Anyway, I wonder. Ooh, damn! Why didn't you do that? All right. Reverend. Yeah. Okay. The Indian. All right. Let's read this part right here. The Indian informed him.
The Indian informed him that one of their most ancient traditions was that a great while ago they had a common father who lived towards the rising sun and governed the whole world.
So look, somebody earlier asked about Egypt and whether these people had anything to do with that. We brought you the fact that their language has something to do with Egypt, right? Not as a tradition where they're literally about to explain to you the man Jacob, who the Negro only say they don't look like and they don't have any relation to. They're about to tell you the story of Jacob being the people that have no relation to him and call him their father from the past, right? So go ahead. Keep reading.
That all the white people's heads were under his feet.
Because what? Jacob and Esau was they were both given gifts. There was a promise given, right? And in the promise, Jacob was promised that his brother was going to have to serve him, right? So the Gadites know, due to their oral tradition passed down from their father Jacob, that when he was on the planet, the white folks was under their feet. If they remember the time of David, before they left Israel, Esau was serving David. So they had the Edomites under their feet. Why do they remember this if it never happened? They didn't get to see no Edomites serving David in America if this is where they're from. They didn't get to see that in the land of Moab. Right? So this has to be facts right here. Go ahead.
That he had 12 sons by whom he administered his government.
Damn. So they even know that he had 12 sons. This father that they had who governed the whole world and had the white people's heads under his feet. Who's this daddy that they talk about? Who is he? Montezuma just said, we ain't from here. We come from the East, right? Who's this daddy they got that come from the East that had 12 sons who governed the whole world and had the Bible before the white man had it? Lived beyond the great river. Was provoked by the great spirit. Come on, bro. Who is these people? That his authority was derived from the great spirit by virtue of, I'm going to flip it so you can read. By virtue of, go ahead.
Some special gift from him.
That right? So he got a special gift now. Go ahead.
That the 12 sons behave very bad and tyrannize over the people, abusing their power to a great degree, so as to offend the great spirit exceedingly.
See that? So first they get a gift from him, which is the gift to govern the world, because that gift was passed down from Abraham, then to Isaac, then from Isaac to Jacob, and from Jacob to the 12 sons. So they literally just told you about the gift they was getting from their father. But what? The 12 sons behaved very badly, tyrannized over the people, abusing their power to a great degree. Go ahead.
That he, being thus angry with them, suffered the white people to introduce spirituous liquors among them, made them drunk, stole the special gifts of the great spirit from them, and by this means usurped the power over them. And ever since the Indians' heads were under the white people's feet.
See? So it's telling you that. Spiritous liquors, right? As in made them drunk with doctrine, like some of these brothers isn't in here today, right? They're telling you that the white man is a king of spiritual wickedness. He's good at making you spiritually drunk, making you go off from what the Most High wants you to do. They're telling you that happened to them, and now they're under the white man's feet, right? Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. They just told you they was overcome by some crackers known as a troop, the cavalry, right? The folks that came over here trying to convert them. They didn't do what they were supposed to do, which was adhere to the Bible that they had before the white mans came over here. The white folk came with the book, also preaching white Jesus, and we fell for that. But they're saying we fell for it because we did bad to the Most High. So he allowed them to put spirituous liquors on us, meaning he allowed them to make us drunk and put them over us, allowed them to usurp authority, right? They literally just said that. How are these people not the people of the Bible? Huh. Right? Yeah, let's see. Let's go here. Let's go here.
Right there, the Indians to the east.
Wait, I'm trying to see if this the one. If this the part I want. There's two things about Mackenzie. Yeah, I want you to start here. Mr. Mackenzie.
Mr. Mackenzie, in his history of the fur trade and his journey through North America by the lakes to the South Sea in the year, says that the Indians informed him that they had a tradition among them that was originally come from another country inhabited by wicked people.
Oh, damn. What second Ezra say? That they left another land and came to this one so that they could keep the laws that they was never able to keep in their land, right? Because they was amongst them wicked people. Why did they take the authority and the council to come all the way to the Americas? because they didn't want to be left around those wicked people that they weren't allowed or able to follow the laws of the Most High around. How are these not the people? Go ahead.
And had traversed a great lake, which was narrow, shallow, and full of islands, where they had suffered great hardships and much misery. It is being always winter with ice and deep snows.
Right? Go ahead.
Okay, at a place they called the Coppermine River, where
Right?
they
The
made
Coppermine River. Hold on a second. This is important because them Negro onlys always like to talk about, and you can stop here. I'm gonna move on to the next part, right? Because as I told you, these are stories that are basically mixed up, but when you put them together, they all tell you the story of Second Esdras. I'm proving that to you, right? If you go into the what did it say? The Coppermine River, right? If you go into the Middle East and you look up copper mines from this time period, from the time period around 722 BC, right? Where was copper prevalent at? If you look at Kuwait, which is where they would have had to travel through the Euphrates River that takes them to that big body of water. I believe it's the Caspian Sea or the Red Sea, one of them. The Red Sea, I believe. And then they're able to travel around that, around Africa, or through that, around Africa, and land in South America, right? So this is literally letting you know, if you go look up the Coppermine River, the Coppermine River would have been the edge of the river where Kuwait connects with the Red Sea. The Coppermine would have been the edge of Kuwait. That's where most of the copper was in that time period, which means that the exact route that One West taught us that they took is obviously what they're explaining here in this book. Some things are folklore or whatever, right? The ice and all that stuff. That might be just some extra stuff that they say when they're giving the story, right? You got to take out the meat, chew out, spit out the bones. You know what I'm saying? But then again, it also does get very cold in the Middle East too in the wintertime. So these are all things you got to take into account. Right? Let me see what I wanted on this side. The Indians to the eastward. Go ahead.
The Indians to the eastward say that previous to the white people coming to the country, their ancestors were in the habit of using circumcision, but laterally, not being able to assign any reason for so strange a practice, their young people insisted on it being abolished.
Right? So if you leave it up to the young people in America, they'll probably say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's no different. But they're saying that when they were connected to the history, they also were connected to this, right? They were connected to circumcision. So these are all things, just a couple of stuff, right, that I wanted to show you. I'm gonna stop there for that. But we could get more. There's a whole book more on just this part of the traditions, right? We didn't even get through half of the chapter yet. It's a whole chapter that tells you these traditions. It's 5 more pages packed with words of nothing but information like this that we could have went through to prove to you that Second Ezra chapter 13 is these people, right? If we haven't proved it already, which I think we have emphatically. I don't see how we didn't. If we didn't prove it, that means you wasn't listening. Because we gave you 4 different stories from 4 different Native American groups, right? That literally telling you the same thing that Second Ezra says in their own way. Go ahead, dog.
No, you said it better than I was going to say it, but that's what I was going to say.
That's the spirit.
Look. God, the spirit.
Hey.
We bringing out more information, or you think the people had enough?
Yeah, bro. I think they had enough. I don't really gotten enough. I know the mixed seed joint. I guess I'm gonna have a class about that because that deserves its own class. Okay. So yeah, man. But just so y'all had the pages, right? If y'all look through this book, you can find the customs around page 49. You can find anything on their language from page 52 to page 62. You can find anything on their traditions from page 62 all the way to 108. Packed with traditions. I'm talking about page 10. Here, let me see if I can read something just quickly. Here, this is 106. But likewise, they say Yah at the beginning of their religious dances with a bowing posture of the body. Then they sing Yah, Yah, ho, ho, hey, hey. And then it says the religious attendants calling out Yah. So they're saying Yah, Yah, ho, ho, hey, hey. While they're saying Yah. So they're saying Yah, Yah, ho, ho, hey, hey. Yah, Yah, ho, ho, hey, hey. Right? And then it says that they're pronouncing Jah or Yah to signify the divine essence. Page 107 says, I have met with some persons who say that they could not help thinking that our Indians were descended from the Jews. They found in everything some affinity between them and the people of God. There is indeed a resemblance in some things, as not to use knives as certain meals, not to break the bones of beasts that they eat at times. We may the separation of their women at certain periods. Some persons have even heard or thought they heard them pronounce the word hallelujah in their songs. Hallelujah, hallelujah, said in that way. The feast they make at the return for their hunters, and of which they must leave nothing, has also been taken for burnt offerings, as it remains of the Passover of the Israelites. Because we know during the Passover, you can't leave none of that food, right? Why do they have a Passover, but the Muslims don't have a Passover, right? How come the so-called tribe of Gad in West Africa didn't celebrate the Passover until the 1500s when the white man got there? But these people were celebrating it without a white man. And the white man documented it. But they're not the people. You got to break that down to me because I don't get it, right? They go on to say the cherubim are said to have represented the names Yahweh or Yahweh or Yahweh, right? Elohim, the redeeming lost mankind, and means the similitude of the great mighty one who enables the congregation's standards, right? And they say they liken him to the bull, the lion, the man, and the eagle. So, come on now. Moving on. So the American Indians, particularly the Cherokees and the Choctaws, have some very humble representation of the cherubimal figures. Their worship of the beloved square, and through the strong religious principle, they dance almost every winter's night, always in a bowing posture, and frequently sing Hallelujah Yahweh, Hallelujah Yahweh, Hallelujah Yahweh. How they say that, and they not the people of the book. Yo.
Yeah, where them so-called Gadites in Africa doing that at?
They ain't doing that. They not. They're saying, right? They not. Just being real. They not. And the ones that are speaking Hebrew, they're speaking contemporary Hebrew. Why don't they have any trace of the Paleo? When they weren't in Babylonian captivity, they weren't in Persian captivity, they weren't in Greek and Assyrian captivity like the Southern Kingdom was. So it would make sense for them in West Africa to be speaking contemporary because they're speaking in Hebrew taught to them by their last damn 7 slave masters. But the Gadites in America, the Issacharites, the Zebulonites, right? Why is the Incas? Why is it that they have the pure Hebrew still on stones, on writings, in their sayings? And it's the pure paleo. Like, I don't get it. Yeah, they beatboxing. Like, I don't know. But yeah, check this out though. Last part I want to bring out, right? It says, in resemblance, the sacred breastplate. The American priest wears a breastplate made of a white conch shell. Now, I want you guys to remember, the book of Second Esdras tells you that these people were the lawgiver, right? They were the ones keeping the northern kingdom in check with the law. They took up the Levitical priesthood through the realm of Melchizedek in this kingdom here, right? So they had a high priest. Every single tribe had a high priest. Even the tribes in Mexico had high priests from Gad. And this is how they dressed. It says, the American priest wears a breastplate made of white cot shells with 2 holes boarded in the middle of it, through which he puts the ends of the outer skin strap and fastens a buckle horn white button to the outside of each, as if the imitation of the precious stones of Urim and Thummim, right? Why are they? I ain't never even seen a West African that even knows what it looked like, the Urim and Thummim. These people remember, and they're making an imitation of it out of bones and stuff here. Why? Because they only went through one captivity, Assyrian. They were able to pass some of that stuff down from generation to generation. They didn't go through 6 other captivities other than that, where they would be able to easily lose that information, like the Southern Kingdom did, which is why there's nobody in Africa that does this.
Right.
Their priest put on a yarmulke, a shawl, and some zeets. I could pull up the pictures for you right now.
Talking about the Limba tribe?
Any of them. The Limba tribe, the Falasha, the Fulani, the Igbo, Ashanti, the ones that practice, they all put on a yarmulke and a shawl. They don't put on this, right? It ain't even done. There's no imitation of the Urim and Thummim in West Africa or South Africa or East Africa. The Ethiopian Jews don't do this. They don't. It says, which miraculously blazoned on the high priest's breast the uttering words of the divine oracle. Instead of a plate of gold, which they would have wore on the forehead with the words holy or separated to God, the Indians wear around, the Indians wear around his temples either a wreath of swan's feathers, which is where they get the crown from, right? The so-called war bonnet, a wreath of swan's feathers, or a long piece of swan skin doubled so that it's a fine snowy down appears on each side. So it's like a drape, right? Almost like the thing Moses had over his face when he was shining, right? That's what they're trying to imitate here. Literally going off of the only things they could have remembered from the only time period where they would have been associated with the children of Israel. Ain't that crazy? And the likeness of a tiara or a crown or a mitre or a mitre of the former, or a diadem, as the Bible would have called it for the people that sit in the judge's seat. And the latter wears of a crown of the head of tough white feathers, which they call a yatra, right? But nobody knows the meaning of this word. Yatra is spelled Y-A-H-T-E-R-A-H, as in Yah tiara, Yah's crown, the diadem of the Lord, right? Man, it says they adore the great spirit and the great taker away of breath and life with the most profound and respectful homage. They believe in the future state with the spirits exist, which they will call the world of spirits, which is heaven, right? Where they enjoy different degrees of tranquility and comforts agreeable to their life spent here. Meaning what you did here, you're going to get there. If you did good here on this planet, you're going to get the gifts of the Most High, the gifts of the kingdom, right? If you repent and come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, you get the kingdom of heaven, right? They have that same belief. Only instead of kingdom of heaven, they call it the realm of the spirits, right? But it's described as the kingdom of heaven, where they're going to have tranquility and great comforts, right? They hold their beloved man or priest in great respect and pay strict obedience to whatever he directs. Why? Because this is like the scribe and Pharisee who sits in Moses' seat. Whatever he bids you, observe. Ain't that what Christ said?
Come.
Damn. So with that, I rest my case. I ain't got nothing else to say. We ain't even finished the book. But I mean, What else do you want me to do? Like, I could have went through the whole thing, and I mean, I only went through like 8 pages, yo. No lie. We went through like 8, 9 pages of this whole book and got 2 hours and 48 minutes of information.
God.
The Negro
So
onlys come in here for a couple seconds, talk about skin color, and then leave because they have nothing to debunk anything we brought out.
And like you said, look, that's not even focused on the curses.
Damn.
I mean, because if you want to even curses, look, this is a good book for curses. You know,
American Holocaust.
right? This is a good book for curses. It's a
That's a
um, it's the Conquest of New Spain by Bernal Diaz de Castillo.
time.
Like I said, History of the Indies of New Spain, Fray Diego Duran. This is a good book for curses. Devastation of the Indies. This is a good book for curses.
It's a lot.
Carlos de las Casas.
It's crazy because we already got
Bro, the retardedness just keep coming out. Israel
Yeah.
is not in Utah or Peru or anywhere over here. We just told you the people from Israel said they come from the east. The North Americans don't even believe Israel over here. They have stories we just read you from 3 different books. James Adair, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, and A Star in the West. All 3 accounts said they come from beyond the Great River in the east. They took a boat here and they traveled here for a long time. On land, just from Mexico to the Americas, it took them 80 years. They not from here. They ain't say nothing about Utah.
So, but my thing is, if Israel's in North America, how you explain the Maccabees, the whole book of Maccabees?
They can't.
Explain the book of Maccabees then.
Yeah, where'd that take place? Florida. Where's Rome at? Is Italy Florida?
Explain the book of Maccabees.
Oh, the boot, Louisiana. Gotta be Italy.
God.
Y'all full of crap, man.
yeah.
So
So true.
that's the lesson, man. I hope y'all liked it. Hope y'all got all the information y'all need. It should be nothing in this lesson. No, not should be. There is nothing. I'm gonna stand on a limb. There's nothing in this lesson that you're gonna be able to debunk. You can't. There's nothing that you're gonna be able to debunk.
And if you do, come to camp and do it. Get outside and do it.
They're not gonna do that because it's nothing they're gonna be able to debunk. They're gonna sit behind the camera and do this. Did the natives look like him or did they look like her? That's my folks, right? That's Gad. That's Levi, right? So, I mean, look. And if you look at the picture I showed y'all, the Comanche family. Let me pull it up. I'm gonna use myself as an example, right? Why not use me? Bam. That's Quana. All right. The folks, right? So you see this picture. You see that man. This. His great grandson, right? And his wife. And they make me, right? Why don't I look like, hell, he don't even look Oriental. Do my dad look Asian to you? Like, come on, bro. Y'all are foolish.
Foolish, man.
It's ridiculous. You got to stop. Because you see, the light-skinned man had a baby with a dark-skinned woman, and the baby came out dark-skinned. My little brother light-skinned. Well, lighter than me. Darker than my dad still. Right? How my pops had a kid look like me if he not black? Well, I ain't come out looking like Tiger Woods or, Drake kid or something. Right? These are the things you got to take into account. And mind you, my bloodline goes back to this guy. Right? This guy got kids look like me. This guy married a white woman or had a white wife. No, I'm wrong. His mama is an Edomite. This is Quana Parker. His mama is Esau. Right? His kids look just like my dad. And then his kids after that are black. And you see, he ain't even a light-skinned brother. He's pretty brown. Just got straight hair.
Khan, you seen the have you got the Caliphans?
I ain't got no picture of him, but I could pull him up.
Yeah. Just
Class over
Google
now, so
Caliphans. Khalifans.
they were one of the first people I
Yeah,
learned
just
about.
look
when
at
I
that
was
first one right there. You see? You see right there, them sisters. I mean, they range in hue. You take them sisters right now. You put them in any high school in Middle America, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You know, you'd think that was all Judah. Some of them you'd probably think it's Simeon or something like that. That's Gad.
So it's the stuff you gotta, y'all gotta debunk this, bro. You can't. It's not enough to just say look at their skin color anymore. Look what they look like. Because I'm giving you examples. They could have kids like me. It's happening right now. It happened before me. It's gonna happen after.
And if you
How
do,
is it possible? Why does the history say that that's who they are? Why do they match up with the curses? You can't deny the curses now if you're an Israelite. That's what you're supposed to go off of.
Right. And if you're gonna deny them, come to camp and do it.
Yeah.
Don't make a video, come to camp and do it. Come outside.
Oh, we know you're not gonna do that. We know you're not gonna do that. I know you're not gonna do that. You know? Because look, this is a website made by a Negro only, right? It was made in 2018. Scattered Hebrew Israelites, Tribe of Gad, right? Now, they telling you about the North American Indians. See, they're showing you the garments and everything, right? So there was a time where these niggas thought that they was the North American Indians. They're showing you pictures of real Gadites, right? Not a brown-skinned brother yet. But then when they get all the way to the bottom, look, they even quoting James Adair to try to use the information. But when they get to the bottom, they find a brother look like this. He still got straight hair, mind you, because he's an Assyrian mix. The Assyrians had straight hair like the Elamites, right? They dark-skinned people like the Elamites. Some of them are mixed with Elamites, right? Elam was in the Assyrian captivity, putting the smackdown on us. So these people, look, he got straight hair. He don't have woolly hair like y'all say Jacob would have had. But this Negro only in 2018, before they debunked or before they denounced the chart completely, right? They're using the chart to prove that the Native Americans are brown-skinned people. When they realize they can't do that because there's books like the book that they quoted up here from James Adair that the brother just read, where James Adair is telling you there's 3 different types of Indians. There's a dark-skinned one, there's a brown-skinned one, and an Oriental one. There's one that looks like the Jews in London, which is black. There's one that looks Oriental, and there's one that resembles the Mexican. Right? All of them have Hebrewisms. All of them are the Israelites. So when they realize, damn, we can't use James Adair no more and be using that 12 tribes chart, let's just say all the Gadites, if they are Native Americans, they got to be black. So then it becomes, now there are so few Native Americans left at this point that people may not know them by their appearance, that they now have, that they were also dark-skinned people. Giovanni reported Black King of France regarding this. And then they post this junk, right? They are dark in color, not unlike the Ethiopians, right? This is Giovanni de Varenza. He's actually one of the people that did the memoir with Christopher Columbus. He didn't draw this or write this. He didn't write this when he was over here. He wrote it when he got back. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going to Portugal, he went to France, which is why it's dated Francois and stuff like that. July 8, 1524. Christopher Columbus's voyage was 1492, right? So it's obviously some years later and everything like that this gets published. But this dude right here only came into contact with southeastern Israelites, right? Which is why he's likening them to the Ethiopians. Because these people are mixing with people that was probably mixing with the Ethiopians, the Geechee Gullah people. Before they come to the Americas, they're in Africa. So they would look just like our people that was in Africa. So when they come over here, the reason they got different color eyes and stuff like that, different color hair, they all got a distinct look, is because these was people that came over here and stayed amongst each other. How come you could walk down the street and I know, damn, they said that brother's Gullah. Right? I can see it because they all look alike. So why is it possible that you could walk down the street and see a Gullah brother and it's cool that all of them look alike because they stayed amongst each other? But the Mexicans can't all look how they look because they stayed amongst each other. And the Gadites can't all look how they look because they stayed amongst each other. It don't make no sense. Right? I could say all Igbo people got really fat square heads. I could say that. Because I've seen a lot of Igbo people with really fat square heads. I could say Gullah people got heads shaped like the Olmecs. Why can I say that? Because a lot of them mixed with the freaking Olmecs when they was in the Ivory Coast before they came to the Americas. A lot of the Native Americans look like Assyrians. Why can I say that? Because they was in Assyrian captivity mixing with their slave master, just like we was mixing with ours in America. There's no new thing under the sun.
Right.
But that don't make the seed tainted. The seed is by the seed of the father. If you didn't mix with a man, you're still an Israelite. That's it. So, yeah, man, that's all I got to say. We've been on here 3 hours. I think that's enough information. We read one book and only about 12 to 10 pages of it. Didn't even read the whole book and got all that information. So, if y'all want to learn something, go get it from a book. Stop listening to these Negro onlys because they flip-flop doctrine like Mitt Romney, as you see. Right? They flip-flopping like Mitt. In 2018, they was telling you that the Native Americans are the Israelites. Now they've switched to the tribe of Gad is in Africa because they can't find enough niggas that look like this. This is an African woman. This is a Blackfoot, right? This is an African woman. This is a Blackfoot, right? Huh? Blackfoot. How did I know that was a Blackfoot? Because I know my people. I need Blackfoot. I knew it was at the bottom of the page. I used to have that picture on my phone. But that's a Blackfoot brother, right? This is a woman from Africa. This is a Hamite. That is not a custom our people have, the stretching neck crack, right? But you see how they're trying to liken our people to real Africans? That's how bad they want you to be black. They put a picture of a Gadite next to a Hamite and say all of them should look like this, brother. So, yeah, man. It's foolishness, right? This is what the majority of the Gadites would have looked like after Assyrian captivity, whether you like it, understand it, believe it or not. This guy would have been what Eastern Israelites looked like after they moved to the east and came into contact with the Geechee Gullah people and the Olmecs, right? These people, some of which began to look more Oriental because none of these niggas look Asian at all. This guy looks like XX Tentacion. This dude looked like Mario Barrios, and this guy looked like Forrest Whitaker grandfather. Okay? So all these dudes look black, but they gonna end up looking Oriental over time because there was Orientals that came and mixed with some of the tribes. But before contact with anybody, this is what the Gadite would have looked like after Assyrian captivity, right? All one color, as they told you. Then some start to look like this. You mix with the black man, you get black again, right? Mix with the Oriental, start to get the little Oriental look, right? So as you see, this is what some of them look like. These brothers like they mixed with Ishmael. Why? Because Ishmael is in damn Assyrian captivity. He's mixed with Elam. Why? Because Elam is in Assyrian captivity. And they stayed amongst each other. They got their own tribe of Indians. So when they have babies with their own tribe of Indians, they get more Indians look like them. Just like when a Gullah got baby with a Gullah, it looked more Gullah, right? It's a brown-skinned baby with a fat head and some green eyes or some hazel eyes. It's traits that they've been able to carry amongst each other's because they stay around each other. They continue to have their own kids in their own groups. So there's a mass influx of people that look like that now. It happened in Mexico, happened with the Incas in Colombia, happened from Argentina to Uruguay to Chile, right? Happened in Central America. So this is all stuff you got to take into account. That's what they would have looked like. And as they moved on to the east, they got darker. Ironically. And the southeast is where the slave trade happened to, majority, right? Also where most of the black people would have been docked off at, which is why when you go up north to the Blackfoot on the East Coast, you still get brothers like this, right? The Shawnee on the East Coast, you still get brothers like this because they're mixing with Africans. Or the Southern Kingdom, as we know them not to be, right? So that's that, man. Ain't nothing else to say. So with that, oh, wow, bro. And then we got Esau coming last minute, right? Esau coming a little bit earlier so we could debunk some of the propaganda you saying. Ain't nothing racist about the truth. How about God is racist because he hates you crackers? Now, it's in Romans chapter 13, 9 verse 13, since I know you didn't know that was in it, right? You are a child of Esau. Mr. Ryan, no apologetics. So, we are the sons of Thunder Israelites. It is our prayer and desire that all Israel might be saved. Hope y'all like the lesson. Go read some books and stop listening to these brothers that don't read books, right? It's very bad to do that. So, yeah, the Northern Kingdom is the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans, whether you like it, understand it, believe it or not, right? Yes, God does not like anybody other than the Israelites. He chose the Israelites as a chosen race of people, a chosen race of kings and priests, right?
He said he'll debate us. Yeah, all right. You don't want to put.
Yeah, that's cool.
You don't want to do that. Oh.
Come back next week, 8:45 on this channel on Monday, okay? We will see. Mark it on your calendar so that your alarm go off on your phone and stuff, all right? Put it on your Google Calendar, your Yahoo Calendar, your Bing Calendar, everything, okay? So you
Want
come
to
back.
see a dead body?
All right? Right. So Ryan, come back and we can show you one next week in the mirror, right? I'm going to show you the mirror of yourself, dead body. All right.
Go.
So, as I was saying, the Northern Kingdom is the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans. Whether you like it, understand it, believe it or not, we have the proof to show it. The 12 tribes chart, whether you like it, understand it, believe it or not, is a true spiritual chart. It has worked to wake up all of you niggas now. And Most High has got it working as it should, a sign bringing the two sticks of Jacob together. If we got the tribes exactly wrong, as far as what specifics it is, then it'll get made right when the time comes. The fact of the matter is, everybody listed on the tribe in mass majority number by their father's descent, if it's Negro or the Indian, they are an Israelite according to the Bible. Mm-hmm. And the history shows it. The curses show it. There's nothing else that need to show it. So with that, hope y'all got it. Hope y'all understand it now at this point. And if you don't think we're telling the truth, please come with a book or some information or write one, right? So that we have something to go off of. Because I just got book after book after book after book after book that tells me that these people are the Israelites.
Exactly.
So, shalom.
Shalom.